Chapter 150. Demon Galloping, Legend of the Demon Ancestor. The 7-star spirit realm is so powerful, why do you need to invite me? Just wait until I beg you in the future. Wuju replied stiffly. Upon hearing this, Lord Wei of the Heaven shook his head and smiled, showing no sign of anger. In the following time, Guan watched as Lord Wei of the Heaven boasted about how powerful the 7-star spirit realm was. Unfortunately, no matter how eloquent he was, he couldn't convince Wuju. Wuju's attitude made Guan feel amused. If Wuju knew that Lord Wei of the Heaven was actually at the Mystic Heart Realm, how would he react? Suddenly, a figure appeared behind Lord Wei of the Heaven. Guan looked up and saw Wuju's current master, Zhou. Zhou Unification Realm 9th Layer 864/2000/3100. To become a member of the Venerable Pavilion, besides having a high cultivation level, his talent must also be top-notch, not a bit inferior to LV Badian. Zhou looked at Lord Wei of the Heaven and said, "Senior Lord Wei, Wuju is my disciple. Can we talk somewhere else?" Lord Wei of the Heaven turned his head to look at him and pondered, "You are called Zhou, right?" "That's right. 500 years ago, I cultivated under your knee for several years." Zhou's tone was slightly respectful. Wuju stood up and saluted his master. Lord Wei of the Heaven suddenly realized and laughed. "I see. In that case, let's talk someplace else." All the disciples around who were drinking and making merry were watching them. Continuing to discuss here was indeed inappropriate. Without waiting for Wuju to greet Guan, Zhou grabbed his shoulder and disappeared on the spot. Lord Wei of the Heaven, however, smiled and nodded at Guan, who then raised his hand to salute in return. After Lord Wei of the Heaven disappeared, a smile appeared on Guan's lips. He picked up the wine jug, poured the wine cups for himself and Wuju to the brim, then raised his cup towards Wuju's cup and whispered, "Hope your future is bright and you soon become famous throughout the world." After saying that, he drank alone, finishing it in one gulp. After drinking, Guan got up and went downstairs, settled the bill and left the inn. He did not go straight back to the Third Medicine Valley but headed towards the Inner Sex Book Collection Hall. Since Guan borrowed the Chronicles of the World and the Continental Map from the Inner Sex Book Collection Hall, he had established a relationship with Elder Su Lu. Over the years, the two often exchanged about the Green Hero Travelogue, forming a friendship of an age gap. It is worth mentioning that Guan also made the acquaintance of Ancestor Kusong in the Book Collection Hall. Ancestor Kusong hid his Supreme Elder identity and befriended Guan under the guise of an inner sect disciple, and Guan did not expose him. When he arrived at the 3rd floor of the Book Collection Hall, Guan found Su Lu and took out the books he had previously borrowed, then smiled and said, "Elder Su, do you have any more books by Taoist Xuanchuan?" Taoist Xuanchuan was the author of the book Su Lu had lent to Guan. This book was not sold in the Book Collection Hall. It was a book sent back by a friend of Su Lu who had gone overseas. It was said to be very popular. After reading it, Guan found that Taoist Xuanchuan's writing was indeed excellent. He even saw traces of Green Hero Travelogue in it. Later, he heard from Su Lu that Green Hero got inspiration to write Green Hero Travelogue after reading this book by Taoist Xuanchuan. Su Lu received the books Guan placed on the table and looked up at him, saying, "Brat, you should read in your spare time from cultivation, don't get addicted to it." Guan smiled and said, "I have average talent. No matter how hard I cultivate, it's useless. In this lifetime I can probably only reach the core formation realm. You know, I am the Valley Master of Medicine Valley. I can improve my cultivation level with elixirs. Why waste time on cultivation? I'd rather enjoy life and cherish the time being alive." Su Lu already knew his destiny, so upon hearing these words he felt they made a lot of sense. Su Lu smiled and said, "Indeed, there is still one book by Taoist Xuanchuan, it's with someone upstairs. Go find him." Guan immediately cupped his hands at him, then turned and walked towards the stairs. There were only 2 people on the 4th floor, one was Ancestor Kusong, and the other was a great void-crossing realm cultivator. These two did not disturb each other. All the way, Guan came to Ancestor Kusong's side. He was sitting on a chair by the window holding a book in his hand. Supreme Immortal Venerable. This was a popular novel written by Pan En. Over the years, under the operation of the Supreme Sect, Supreme Immortal Venerable, and the Investiture of the Gods, had spread to the other 8 dynasties and were very popular. The most popular was still Supreme Immortal Venerable, while the Investiture of the Gods was highly recommended by the high levels of various sections. In the world of immortal cultivation, there was a classic saying, "Look at the Investiture of the Gods 4 high realms, and look at the Supreme Immortal Venerable 4 low realms." The fact that Ancestor Kusong liked Supreme Immortal Venerable surprised Guan Sr. Elder Su recommended me here. May I borrow the book by Taoist Xuanchuan? Guan asked softly. Ancestor Kusong listened and touched his left hand into his pocket, took out a book and threw it to him. Guan caught the book, flipped through it briefly and immediately smiled. Ancestor Kusong suddenly asked, Guan, have you read this Supreme Immortal Venerable before? Pan-An's identity was still a secret in the Supreme Sect, known only to a few, and Ancestor Kusong did not pursue the author's identity. Yes, it's all right, Guan commented. Although the Supreme Immortal Venerable was a book he originally wrote, he did not like to read it because there was no sense of novelty. Ancestor Kusong chuckled. Then you don't understand the greatness of Supreme Immortal Venerable. In my opinion, this book is better than the Investiture of the Gods, because it can resonate with the majority, showing that the author understands the mundane world. Guan said, but I still like the Investiture of the Gods better. It has more detail and more imagination. The two began to argue about which book was better. Guan did not intend to let him win. After all, ostensibly Guan did not know his true identity. They were friends with a significant age difference but shared a common interest. If Guan always agreed with him, flattering him, it would rather be boring. After a long argument, Guan had the upper hand and left satisfied. Ancestor Kusong, who had been blowing his nose and glowering, watched Guan go downstairs. The anger on his face subsided, turning into a playful smile. At this moment, the great void-crossing realm cultivator walked over. This was a man dressed in a gray Taoist robe. He came to Ancestor Kusong and asked with a smile, Ancestor, why are you arguing with a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator? He is in the Foundation Establishment realm, but the fact that he can enter the inner sect shows he is not so simple, does it? Ancestor Kusong asked in return. The gray-robed man shook his head. Maybe he has some background, but cultivation levels don't lie. Ancestor Kusong smiled but did not reply, continuing to read this Supreme Immortal Venerable. The gray-robed man continued to ask, the 9 dynasty sects plan to jointly explore the demon land to find the cause of the demon calamity. Will you go? Ancestor Kusong replied, yes, these old bones of mine have no hope of advancing further. After enjoying some more leisurely days, I will head to the demon land. The gray-robed man upon hearing this said, Ancestor, take me with you. Nonsense, this trip is life-threatening. Even though I'm at the Mystic Heart realm, I can't protect you. Is it that terrifying? Do you think the Ephemera sect dares only to make trouble in the 9 dynasties lands for no reason? Could it be that there is also a Mahayana expert in the demon land? Ancestor Kusong did not answer. He shifted his gaze to the window. Beneath the blue sky, disciples flew in and out. The scenery was beautiful. Deep night. Heavenly Phoenix Mountain Yenshu Cave. Guan was teaching Tian Yaoer how to cultivate the Limitless Freedom Step. Tian Yaoer was the only one to inherit the Limitless Freedom Step. Together with the primordial Earth Immortal skill, in 1,000 years, her strength would certainly be very powerful. In the same realm, it might not be said that she would be invincible, but no one, neither human nor demon, could stop her. Tian Yaoer was very excited about Guan's teachings. This was the first time Guan had taught her a spell. The step technique of the Limitless Freedom Step was very complex, and Tian Yaoer practiced it with great effort. Guan was not in a hurry, since this step technique required years of cultivation to show its effects. If Tian Yaoer could master it after just practicing it once, he would be devastated. 5 years passed. Guan pondered when to help Tian Yaoer form a core. Tian Yaoer used to be like a medicine pot. When they first met, she had already reached the 9th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, only 1 step away from the core formation realm. She previously lacked a cultivation technique, but now, with the primordial Earth Immortal skill, breaking through was no longer a difficult matter. Guan, watching Tian Yaoer's graceful figure, suddenly sensed something and released his divine sense. His divine sense ascended into the sky, overlooking the entire Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. He saw a magnificent scene. Countless demons were rushing towards the north like a tidal wave, covering the land and mountains. In the night, demon fog rolled incessantly, unable to conceal the figures of the demons. With one sweep of his divine sense, Guan saw demons, monsters, and ghosts. Their march caused the land and mountains to tremble, and the commotion intensified. After a while, Yenshu Cave also began to tremble slightly, startling Tian Yaoer into stopping. She nervously came to Guan's side, grabbing his arm with both hands, her eyes full of fear. She whispered, "It's happening again." Guan looked down at her and asked, Why do you say that? Tian Yaoer answered, when I was very young the same thing happened. Many demons went north, even the demon mother went. It was said they were going to meet the demon ancestor. The demon ancestor? Tell me about it. Guan became interested, pulling Tian Yaoer to sit at the stone table. Tian Yaoer took a deep breath and began to tell the legend of the demon ancestor she had heard. Legend has it that a long time ago, the first demon was born between heaven and earth. He was the demon ancestor. He was born above all beings, and in the long years of feeling lonely, he sprinkled his blood on the earth, allowing the beings of the world to be baptized and then transform into demons. Later, creatures called humans appeared on the earth. They were terrifyingly powerful and slaughtered demons on a large scale. At this point, Tian Yaoer couldn't help but look at Guan nervously, for she already knew that Guan was not a demon but a human. To demons who had never interacted with humans, humans were terrifying beings. If Guan hadn't saved her, she would have long attempted to escape. Guan wore a mask, and seeing no reaction from him, Tian Yaoer mustered the courage to continue. That group of foreign cultivators of the human race was extremely powerful. They slaughtered demons, seizing demon cores and treasures, and ultimately enraged the demon ancestor. The demon ancestor personally took action and repelled the terrifying cultivators of the human race. However, the true calamity had just begun. Many years later, cultivators of the human race attacked again, and this time their numbers were even greater. To protect the demon clan, the demon ancestor eventually fell, perishing completely. After that, humans took root on the earth, and the demon clan faced a period of oppression. During these long years of oppression, the demon clan always sought to revive the demon ancestor and exterminate the human race. Until now, the demon ancestor was about to be resurrected, and every few decades, all the demons in the world would go to worship the demon ancestor, offering their demon blood. Chapter 151. Ridge of 10,000 Demons, Person of Heavenly Destiny. Listening to the legend of the demon ancestor, Guan felt an odd sensation within. So, the 9 dynasties on the continent were the invaders? No wonder the Holy Land didn't assist the 9 dynasties. But Guan didn't ponder too much. He wouldn't sympathize with the demon clan or blame the 9 dynasties over this. The fight for survival had never been defined by good and evil. Besides, there might have been other races on this continent before the demon clan emerged. The evolution of heaven and earth had always been about survival of the fittest, the old being replaced by the new. As a human, Guan naturally had to consider things from the perspective of the human race. If one had a sense of righteousness, one wouldn't annihilate the demon clan completely. In fact, the human race and demon clan could coexist. In the immortal cultivation world, the presence of demons was common. Demon pets had become an indispensable element for most cultivators. In some sects, powerful demon creatures could even become guardian deities, worshipped by cultivators. After Tian Yaoer finished speaking, she looked nervously at Guan and suddenly grabbed his left hand. Master, can't humans and demons really coexist? Why must it always be a fight to the death? Although she feared humans, she didn't dislike them because she had never encountered humans since childhood. On the contrary, those who persecuted her were from the demon clan. Guan withdrew his hand, saying, "It's not just about races in this world. To become stronger, one inevitably walks the path of struggle. Rather than worrying and feeling sorrowful, it's better to focus on cultivation because your enemies won't sympathize with you. If you wish to sympathize with others, you must become powerful enough." Because of the memories from his past life, aside from the friends he had genuinely bonded with, Guan viewed the world with a sense of detachment. When the chaos erupted in the Supreme Sect's outer sect, he had etched the word righteousness into his mind, but he didn't feel extreme hatred toward those actions. When the ephemera sect ravaged the world, he didn't harbor extreme hatred either. He could immerse himself in the mundane world, yet deep within, he harbored a kind of solitude. This solitude allowed him to see through everything clearly and kept him from being swayed by his surroundings. After listening to his words, Tian Yaoer nodded earnestly and said, "If the demon ancestor is resurrected and humans are driven away, Master, wherever you go, you must take me with you." Guan smiled and asked, "Is the demon ancestor really that powerful? Will humans surely be driven away? I once heard the demon mother say that once the demon ancestor is resurrected, this continent will completely become a land of demons and devils. The human cultivators of today simply can't contend with the demon ancestor," Tian Yaoer said with her head tilted. "So powerful?" Guan grew even more intrigued by the demon ancestor. If nothing went wrong when the calamity of demons and devils erupted, he would have to deal with the demon ancestor. Moreover, Guan was half skeptical of Tian Yaoer's words. He felt there were more secrets hidden on this continent, not fully explained by this legend. If the continent truly belonged entirely to the demon clan, then where did the devils and ghosts come from? Devils were not just another term for demons, they existed as a separate force. If humans practiced demonic power, they became demon cultivators. If the demon clan practiced demonic power, they became demon devils. Why did demonic power appear? Moreover, Guan sensed that the demon land had an extremely heavy aura of resentment, far surpassing that of the Nine Dynasties lands. In the demon land, human cultivators were rarely seen. It couldn't be said that all of this resentment was caused by human cultivators, right? Then Guan asked Tian Yaoer to continue cultivating the limitless freedom step, while he used his divine sense to track the roaming demons and devils. Under the night sky, various demons galloped through the mountains and wilderness, and numerous demon birds flew over the hilltops. On closer look, amidst the demons were also shadows of devils and ghosts. The difference between devil shadows and ghost shadows was that these devil shadows emanated demonic chi, like masses of black mist flying by. Guan's divine sense tracked them over a distance of millions of miles, witnessing an ever-increasing number of demons and devils. Along the way, the number of demons and devils reached a level that even made a Nirvana realm cultivator like him shiver. If the calamity of demons and devils truly erupted and he didn't intervene, the Nine Dynasties' territories would likely be swiftly overrun. Approaching the depths of the demon land, Guan also sensed the aura of Mystic Heart realm demon devils. These demon devils were not stirred by the tide of demons and still remained in their respective caves. Eventually, Guan's divine sense halted within a cluster of volcanoes. Here, lava spread everywhere, the night sky covered in hot, thick smoke, and some volcanoes continuously erupted, spectacular and terrifying. According to the map provided by Su Lu, this should be the Ridge of 10,000 Demons, deep within the continent. The Ridge of 10,000 Demons had over 10,000 volcanoes, housing countless demon kings, with an uncountable number of demon devils. The author of Chronicles of the World passed through here but dared not delve deeper because the overwhelming demon energy filled him with dread. He learned about the Ridge of 10,000 Demons by capturing and interrogating a demon creature. Guan could feel the aura of thousands of Unification Realm beings and more than 20 Mystic Heart Realm beings, including a Great Ascension Realm presence here. At this moment, countless demon devils within the Ridge of 10,000 Demons were also rushing northward. Guan didn't continue probing north, not because his divine sense couldn't extend further, but because there were already Great Ascension Realm demon devils here. The demon ancestor was likely beyond the Great Ascension Realm. Reflecting on the legend mentioned by Tian Yaoer, it seemed highly probable. The blood of a Great Ascension being wasn't that extraordinary, but a Nirvana realm being was different. Their essence of life had already transformed, just like Guan's blood was no longer mundane. Guan didn't want to alert the enemy. After all, the calamity of demons wasn't happening tomorrow. He still had time to extend his lifespan. Once his lifespan reached 10 million years, his strength would experience a significant leap. Maintain composure. The advantage was on his side. Guan retracted his divine sense and continued guiding Tian Yaoer in her cultivation. Spring passed, autumn came, and 3 more years went by. One afternoon, the 82-year-old Guan transformed into a small figure clad in white and arrived at the North Sea Mountain to visit Sage Xian Miao. Sage Xian Miao had been left to his own devices. Guan only visited every few months, and Sage Xian Miao had gotten used to it. He spent his days cultivating in the mountain god temple, living quite comfortably. Upon his arrival, Guan noticed there was someone else outside the temple, and it was someone familiar. And Hao stood side by side with Sage Xian Miao on the edge of a hillside, together overlooking the vast North Sea. It seemed the two shared a good relationship, forged from their unrecognized encounters during the Golden List tournament. And Hao had already broken through to the first layer of the nascent soul realm, and he wasn't yet 50 years old. It looked like Hao had great potential to surpass the breakthrough speed of Li Xiandao. Your cultivation speed is already fast enough. What you need now is to calm your mind, Sage Xian Miao said, his tone rather helpless. Before participating in the Golden List tournament, he truly believed his talent was unrivaled in the world. Being defeated by Hao didn't leave him despondent. Rather, he felt fortunate. He was glad to have met Hao, which allowed him to recognize his own limits early on and thus cultivate better. Hao stood tall, his arms crossed over his chest, his handsome face with loosely tied long hair, exuding both a free-spirited aura and the demeanor of a prodigy. He chewed on a blade of grass, softly laughing. I don't feel that my cultivation speed is very fast. For some reason, since I started cultivating, I've constantly felt a sense of urgency. If I don't hasten my cultivation, disaster will surely befall me. He gazed at the North Sea's surface, his eyes profound. Seeing the kid who, back then, wasn't even up to his shoulder, now growing into such a figure, Guan felt a great sense of accomplishment. If it weren't for him, and Hao would have long perished in the jaws of demons. Moreover, he had guided Hao in his cultivation, so he deserved to feel this sense of achievement. Hearing Hao's words, Guan thought of the limit of one's lifespan. Could it be that geniuses like Hao could sense the existence of heavenly destiny? If he couldn't achieve nirvana within 10,000 years, he would eventually die. Sage Shen Miao sighed, "Since that's the case, let me guide you. Previously, while passing through Tianwei, my treasure guided me to the ruins of a great cultivator's cave abode. However, the restrictions inside were complex and I couldn't comprehend them at the time, so I set it aside and came to participate in the Golden List tournament. You can try, as there are great opportunities inside." Upon hearing this, Hao couldn't help but ask for the exact location of the cave abode ruins. Sage Shen Miao took a map from his storage bag and handed it to Hao. After chatting a while longer, Hao prepared to leave. Before departing, he reminded, "The hateful heaven divine sword has been causing quite a stir in the immortal cultivation world recently. The sword master has already turned to demonic cultivation and learned an evil art, killing more and more people. Be careful in these deep mountains so he doesn't catch you. If the mountain god is always drowsy, no one can save you." Sage Shen Miao laughed, "I am at the 5th layer of the divinity transformation realm. The hateful heaven divine sword hasn't yet killed a divinity transformation cultivator." Hao shook his head with a wry smile, waved his hand and turned to leave. He leaped, a flying sword emerging from his waist. He stepped onto it and quickly vanished at the edge of the North Sea. Sage Shen Miao watched for a while, then turned back to the temple. Just as he entered the courtyard, he heard the voice of the mountain god. "This boy's root bones are extraordinary, and his chi fortune is remarkable." Looking up, he saw the mountain god sitting on the temple's eaves, watching Hao's departing figure. Sage Shen Miao smiled and said, "His talent is indeed unparalleled. My master once said that the supreme sect would give birth to a genius capable of changing the world, and perhaps it's him." Guan chuckled upon hearing this. "So, the Three Pure Ones mountain is this impressive?" Sage Shen Miao replied, "Three Pure Ones mountain certainly can't compare to you. Though the Taoist tradition has existed for over 10,000 years, our masters have mastered some prediction techniques. Actually, our Three Pure Ones mountain also hails from overseas. Our ancestors couldn't return, so they settled on this continent." He began introducing Three Pure Ones mountain, and Guan listened attentively. Just the divine reaching mystic gate alone was enough to make him regard Three Pure Ones mountain highly. By the way, our Li family also has a person of heavenly destiny brimming with chi fortune. This person should also be a disciple of the supreme sect, though he has not yet showcased his talent. When he encounters a great opportunity, he might soar to the heavens and rival Hao. "I'm looking forward to that day," Sage Shen Miao said, gazing up at Guan with an expectant expression. Guan curiously asked, "Do you have a clear calculation on the person of heavenly destiny?" "It's hard to pin down in calculation, but it should be him. Other Li family disciples' talents aren't outstanding enough." Sage Shen Miao shook his head. Guan knew who he was talking about. The most talented disciple of the Li family in the supreme sect could only be Li Ya. But in truth, Li Zuando's talent was even more terrifying. Perhaps Li Xiandao was the true person of heavenly destiny in the Li family. From the current trend, Li Xiandao indeed had the talent to rival Hao. Chapter 152 Master, save me. After chatting with Sage Shen Miao for a while, Guan asked him to take him to the medicine garden for a look. Sage Shen Miao had planted a medicine garden at the foot of the mountain, quite large in scale, managed by a few minor demons. Guan began to pick the ripe medicinal herbs and lectured Sage Shen Miao with a bunch of grand principles. Sage Shen Miao listened very attentively to the principles of the mountain god, feeling that every word contained the true meaning of Tao. After picking, Guan took only half, leaving the other half for Sage Shen Miao to refine elixirs and cultivate. Although it was not the first time this happened, Sage Shen Miao was moved every time. Even though he was a servant serving for a lifetime, he was actually cultivating under the mountain god's guidance, which was a great blessing. Sage Shen Miao felt that the mountain god had an important mission to entrust to him, because the mountain god said, "When heaven is about to bestow a great responsibility on a man, it first exercises his mind, toils his bones, starves his body, empties him of possession, and disturbs his deeds. The planting of medicinal herbs might not be something the mountain god needed, but rather a way to temper his character. Regarding the mission that the mountain god wanted to pass on to him, he had a bold guess, and every time he thought of it, he couldn't help but feel restless and tried not to think about it. The medicine garden of the mountain god temple had not yet become a stable source of lifespan for Guan. He now mainly relied on Mystic Valley, 8 scenic caves, 3rd Medicine Valley, Tianya Valley, and Yenshu Cave. Each year he could obtain nearly 200,000 years of lifespan, although there were occasional fluctuations. His lifespan had already exceeded 5,600,000 years. If nothing unexpected happened, he would reach 10 million years in 20 years. The great calamity of the demons and monsters was unlikely to erupt within 20 years. According to the predictions within the Supreme Sect, it would take at least 50 years for the great calamity of the demons and monsters to erupt. After returning to Mystic Valley, Guan continued to act as an ordinary disciple. It was worth mentioning that Gu Zong had already promoted Guan to an inner sect disciple, but Guan still preferred to wander around the outer city. He had many friends in the outer sect. He was a nostalgic person. Just like that, another year passed. Summer arrived. Guan was practicing calligraphy in a pavilion in Mystic Valley. While practicing, he was also contemplating the profound formations in the Wuxia Chronicles. Lu Jiujia suddenly came to visit Guan. Hearing the knock on the door, Guan let him in. He closed the door, walked to the desk and said, "Senior brother, I have news about Wuxin." Wuxin was Gu An's junior disciple, a spy from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. Although Wuxin had left, he had left behind the Taoist expansion skill. Guan did not look up, continuing to stare at the paper, saying, "Let's hear it." Lu Jiujia immediately said, "Due to the chaos in the ephemera sect, the Thousand Autumn Pavilion has disbanded. I originally thought he had perished, but recently I heard that a young monk has appeared under the Emperor's command, calling himself Wuxin. This monk acts ruthlessly. He once slaughtered 9,000 soldiers of the Hanlu dynasty by himself and refined their heads into magic artifacts. This matter has caused a huge sensation in the immortal cultivation world. The Emperor, in his quest to unify the world, employs people without regard for morality. Now he has quite a few demon cultivators and ghost cultivators under his command." After hearing this, Guan sighed at Wuxin's transformation. As for Wuxin's actions, he could not comment. It was worth noting that the immortal cultivation world and the 9 dynasties had tacitly approved of Li Zuando's actions, allowing the dynasties to go to war. But there was one rule: no matter how they fought, the sects were not to be involved. At least, the grudges of the dynasties could not escalate to the sections. Of course, although the rule was like this, the Supreme Sect would secretly support Li Xiandao, and the immortal cultivation sects of the Hanlu dynasty would also send aid. Cultivators from the 9 dynasties all hoped that the dynasty which unified the world would be their own dynasty. Lu Jiujia exclaimed, "Wuxin's current strength is probably comparable to the core formation realm. Given his talent, he couldn't be this powerful. He must have practiced some kind of demon skill. Senior brother, you must be careful if you encounter him in the future." He had once strayed onto the demon path and deeply understood the feeling of falling into the demon path, where one would stop at nothing to become stronger. In that state, only oneself was important in their heart. Guan nodded, saying, "Don't worry, I normally won't leave the Supreme Sect's territory. He certainly won't dare to come." The Supreme Sect was flourishing. The influence of the Golden List Conference and the works of Pan and brought in more and more disciples to the Supreme Sect. Many powerful loose cultivators also joined the Supreme Sect. Each passing year saw a significant increase in the Supreme Sect's strength on paper. The most noticeable point was that Guan rarely saw demon cultivators infiltrate the Supreme Sect anymore. After speaking about this matter, Lu Jiujia no longer disturbed Guan. Guan continued practicing calligraphy, thinking that he could showcase his penmanship in the next book. Such beautiful calligraphy should not be hidden for personal admiration. Perhaps I am not a genius in immortal cultivation, but I am definitely a genius in calligraphy. Guan praised himself in his heart, feeling increasingly joyful. At that moment, he suddenly felt someone calling him. He thought it was Sage Shen Miao, but sweeping his divine sense, he realized Sage Shen Miao was meditating. He carefully sensed it and discovered that the call was not from the mountain god. It was, "Master, save me." Under the blue sky and white clouds, hundreds of cultivators floated among the mountains, facing a mountain wall and continuously casting spells. No matter how their spiritual power attacked, they could not shake the mountain wall. Each time it was attacked, the mountain wall would reveal a layer of blue light, blocking all attacks. An elder flew to the side of a purple-robed man who had not taken action, saying in a deep voice, "Your Highness, the restriction here is too strong. Even I, a void-crossing realm cultivator, cannot break it." The purple-robed man was a prince of the Tianwei dynasty, named Zong, with cultivation in the first layer of the divinity transformation realm. Zong's expression was indifferent as he spoke. "Continue attacking. Even if we cannot break it, we must frighten that kid. My master will arrive soon. Also, have a group spread out to prevent that kid from escaping. He is the Golden List champion of the Supreme Sect. If he escapes this time, it will be difficult to capture him again. Once he grows stronger, he will be a great trouble for Tianwei." "Yes." The elder accepted the order and left immediately. Meanwhile, inside the mountain wall, through a winding tunnel in a spacious cave chamber, and Hao was meditating to heal his injuries. Beside him stood a young woman in yellow clothing, richly dressed, with a beautiful face. "Hey, my second brother's master is at the Mystic Heart Realm. He is the Supreme Elder of Candle Sky Peak, the #1 sect of Tianwei. He will get what he wants. I advise you to open the mountain gate, let him in and apologize. I can plead for mercy on your behalf to my second brother." The young woman in yellow clothing spoke. She was named Yener, a princess of Tianwei. At this moment she was standing still, speaking only with her mouth, her body stiff. A talisman paper was stuck to her shoulder. And Hao kept his eyes closed, ignoring her. His face was pale. He realized that the situation was critical. He had almost no hope of escaping alive. While healing, he thought of his master. His biggest wish was to see his master. Even knowing that his master was Sword Venerable Fu Dao, he still did not know his master's true identity. No one in the Supreme Sect knew who Sword Venerable Fu Dao really was, not even his second master LV Badian. Because of this, and Hao worked even harder in cultivation. His true master was stronger than the entire Supreme Sect. If he did not cultivate diligently, how could he satisfy his master? And Hao felt both unwillingness and a bit of shame. He hoped that in this critical moment, his master would come to save him. Although Zong had the cultivation of the divinity transformation realm, he could not really harm him. The troublesome thing was that Zong could call for help, and he brought a group of high-level cultivators. This made Hao feel very frustrated. He also had backing. If his master were here, he believed that no matter how many people Zong called, it would be useless. With Yener's incessant nagging, his mind was in disarray. Unable to help it, he opened his eyes, glared at Yener and cursed, "If you keep talking, be careful I don't strip you and have my way with you before I die." At these words, Yener's face turned pale. She quickly shut her mouth, staring at him with large, aggrieved and angry eyes. Cough, cough. And Hao's anger caused a backflow of blood, leading to a fit of coughing. He disliked spitting blood, so he swallowed the backflowed blood, enduring the discomfort. Soon he calmed down and continued to practice and heal his wounds. An ancient hour later, Yener couldn't help but ask, "Hey, and Hao, do you think that statue is the statue of the cave owner?" Following her gaze, one could see a stone statue standing in the center of the cave chamber. It depicted an elderly man standing on a tortoise, holding a wooden staff, with a hunched back and a kindly face. Although it was a stone statue, it had a feeling of coming to life. With eyes closed, and Hao responded, "Perhaps." Suddenly he thought of something and immediately stood up, walking to the statue. He began to circle the statue, carefully observing. "Did you discover something?" Yener asked curiously. And Hao did not answer her. At that moment, a terrifying pressure descended, halting in Hao's steps and turning his face pale. Yener was similarly frightened. "Master, you have finally arrived." From outside came Zong's delighted shout. He deliberately spoke loudly, clearly for Hao and Yener to hear. "I didn't expect this place to hide the grotto heaven remains of an ancient great cultivator. All of you move aside." A cold voice rang out, and Hao's expression turned grim upon hearing it. Yener gloated, "Hey, are you afraid now? Quickly unseal me. Otherwise when they break in you will surely die." Rumble. The cave chamber shook violently, sand and dust fell as if it would collapse at any moment. A terrifying divine sense had already penetrated inside, making Hao's heart jump and his forehead sweat. No matter how talented he was, he could not be a match for the Mystic Heart Realm. Not to mention Mystic Heart Realm, even a void-crossing realm could crush him. At this moment Hao could not remain calm. He clenched his fists, inexplicably thinking of his master's figure. "Damn it, master, save me," and Hao gritted his teeth, muttering under his breath. Si Yener laughed gleefully upon hearing this. "Isn't your master the sect leader of the supreme sect? It said he is only at the unification realm. He's not a match for my brother's master. Besides, he's far away in the supreme sect. He couldn't possibly come to save you." And Hao glared at her, shouting angrily, "The master I speak of is not LV Badian." Si Yener pouted and asked, "Do you have a mystic heart realm master then?" "I." And Hao could not answer because he had promised his master not to reveal his master's existence. At that moment, a hand pressed on Hao's shoulder, startling him. Then he heard a voice that made his eyes redden. "Silly disciple, it's only been how many years and you're already calling for me to save you?" Chapter 153, Get Lost. The hand pressed against Hao's shoulder belonged to Guan. Hao turned his head cautiously, and upon seeing Guan, the joy in his heart erupted completely. "Master!" Hao couldn't help but turn around and embrace Guan. Although Guan was still wearing a mask and his attire was different from before, Hao recognized him at a glance as his master. Guan suddenly disappeared, causing Hao to stumble forward a step. He looked back to find Guan 7 steps away, which made him sigh in relief. For a moment when his master disappeared, he thought he had fallen into an illusion. "Tell me what happened?" Guan asked. The mountain was still trembling, but with Guan's arrival, Hao didn't feel any panic. Instead, he was very excited and began narrating the whole feud. Guan listened carefully. Not far away, Si Yener stared at Guan with eyes full of curiosity. "This person is Hao's master? How did he get in here?" During his narration, Hao couldn't resist using his divine sense to probe Guan's true face, but the power within the mask rebounded his divine sense, making him feel a thrill of fear. Guan remained silent, which made Hao feel ashamed. He dared not offend his master any further and concentrated fully on recounting his grudge with Prince Xizong of the Tianwei dynasty. 2 months ago he found this cave ruin site based on the map given by Sage Shen Miao. However, he couldn't enter it. After struggling for a month, he went out for further training and then met Xizong and Si Yener. Xizong had participated in the Golden List competition back in the day and even made it to the top 10. The two had been rivals. Upon meeting again, they hit it off, making Hao think he had made a close friend like Sage Shen Miao. So, the three shared pleasant times traveling and sightseeing. Later, Hao shared the opportunity with Xizong and his sister. Unexpectedly, Xizong had always held a grudge for losing to Hao. Learning that Hao came for the opportunity, he planned to capture Hao. After a fierce battle, both were seriously injured, and Hao abducted Si Yener. Hao brought Si Yener back here. During their argument, they accidentally triggered a mechanism, revealing the cave entrance in the mountain wall. Just as they were about to enter, they didn't expect Xizong to catch up so quickly, with even a void-crossing realm cultivator accompanying him. Hao was severely injured by an ambush while bringing Si Yener into the cave. Fortunately, the cave entrance closed in time, saving him from further danger. After Hao finished speaking, he was very angry and cursed, "That dog Xizong. I trusted him so much, I must have been blind." Si Yener pursed her lips but didn't speak up for Xizong, as she also disapproved of his actions. Boom. An explosion echoed from the cave passage, followed by a gust of wind that ruffled the robes of the three. Guan then looked at the statue in the center of the cave chamber, deep in thought. Footsteps sounded and Hao didn't panic. He moved next to Si Yener, preparing to use her as a hostage. "Let her go. There's no need to use a woman as a threat, it's meaningless." Guan's voice rang out. Si Yener immediately beamed, quickly saying, "Thank you, Senior, you are indeed wise." Hao glared at her but obediently removed the talisman paper from her body. As soon as the talisman paper was removed, Si Yener regained control of her body and sighed in relief. She didn't run toward the cave passage but stood beside Hao. Just then a group of cultivators came through the cave entrance, led by Xizong. Behind him was a man in a black robe with golden patterns, an imposing presence, half-white hair, a handsome face, and cold eyes exuding an indescribable pressure. Xizong's gaze fell on Guan, his brows furrowing. He raised his hand in greeting and asked, "May I ask who you are, Taoist friend, and why are you here?" Si Yener spoke up, "Second brother, he's Hao's master. Let's end this matter here." "Master?" Xizong's frown deepened and he asked, "Are you sect master LV?" Guan glanced at the black-robed man behind Zong and performed lifespan detection. Ancestor Xingyan, Mystic Heart Realm 2nd Layer 1904/4400/4600. The Tianwei dynasty truly hid dragons and crouching tigers. It's unclear if this person had been cultivating in Tianwei all along or if he returned from overseas due to the ephemera sect. Guan spoke, "I am not LV Badian. This cave was found by my disciple first. I advise you all to leave it at that." The cultivators behind Zong were taken aback, surprised by this person's firm attitude. And Hao grew excited and looked at Zong provocatively. Ancestor Xingyan stepped forward, standing in front of Zong. He scrutinized Guan, asking, "May I know your name, Taoist friend? Why not show your true face?" His divine sense couldn't penetrate Guan's mask, making him wary of Guan. But only a little. After all, he was a Mystic Heart Realm cultivator. He had fought other Mystic Heart Realm experts during his battles with the ephemera sect, with mixed results. As a fellow Mystic Heart Realm cultivator, he couldn't be killed. Unless this person was as powerful as the ephemera sect hierarch at the Mahayana realm. Mahayana realm? Ancestor Xingyan didn't believe it. If there was such a powerful existence, why hadn't he heard of it before? Guan turned to Ancestor Xingyan and uttered one word, "Scram." Scram. Everyone's faces changed drastically, especially those on Zong's side. They knew Ancestor Xingyan's background. Audacious. How dare you speak rudely to a great cultivator of the Mystic Heart Realm? An elder scolded angrily while Ancestor Xingyan laughed coldly. And Hao was extremely excited. As expected of his master, how domineering. Yener looked at Guan, feeling that his arrogance stemmed from genuine confidence. Just as Ancestor Xingyan was about to speak, Guan sighed and muttered, "Annoying." As the words fell, Guan suddenly waved his sleeve. Mana burst forth, transforming into a strong wind that swept towards Ancestor Xingyan, Zong, and the others. His actions were too fast for anyone to react. As the strong wind passed, Ancestor Xingyan and the others turned to ashes, and their storage bags and rings fell to the ground. The cave chamber instantly fell silent. And Hao's eyes widened and Yener froze, rubbing her eyes in disbelief. A series of messages appeared before Guan's eyes, indicating that killing 57 cultivators had granted him over 1,200 years of lifespan. Guan ignored Hao and Yener's shock, then approached the statue. The Mystic Heart Realm, dead? Yener muttered, beads of cold sweat forming on her forehead as she instinctively felt fear. And Hao was stunned for a while, then cheered and ran to Guan's side, excitedly saying, "Master, how are you so powerful? What is your true realm? Are you at the Mahayana realm as mentioned by the ephemera sect hierarch?" Mahayana realm. These three words made Yener's heart race. She could no longer think about Zong's death, as her heart was filled with fear and anxiety. She immediately ran towards the cave's entrance. And Hao just glanced at her and didn't stop her. After Guan's earlier display, he felt incredibly confident. Even if the entire Tianwei dynasty surrounded their master and disciple duo, it would be courting death. Guan paid no attention to Hao. Seeing his master examine the statue, Hao dared not interrupt, standing obediently by the side. He looked at Guan with intense admiration in his eyes. He couldn't help but activate his spiritual power, stimulating his senses to ensure he wasn't dreaming. With such a powerful master, could he have destroyed the ephemera sect without the mountain god's intervention? Such a thought crossed Hao's mind, and his admiration for Guan deepened. Before long, Yener returned. It turned out she wasn't escaping but rather telling the outside cultivators to leave quickly to avoid dying because of Zong. She quietly waited beside Hao. And Hao frowned at her and she raised her face defiantly and glared at him. At this moment, Guan raised his hand and struck the statue with a palm. Under his mana control, the statue began rotating. As the turtle statue moved, water started flowing from its base. After the statue rotated halfway, the turtle's mouth opened and a beam of white light shot out, hitting the mountain wall. Under the watchful eyes of Hao and Yener, the mountain wall revealed complex and dense ancient characters, each character writhing as if it wanted to escape the wall, making the two of them widen their eyes in astonishment. The strong light shone on their faces, and it seemed like a sun was forming in their eyes, growing larger. Upon closer inspection, a mass of strong light appeared on the mountain wall where the strange words were, expanding as if a gate to an exotic world was opening. The statue suddenly raised the stone staff in its hand and lightly tapped it. The strong light ahead sharply increased, enveloping the entire cave chamber, and a rich spiritual energy rushed towards Guan and the two. Guan immediately walked towards the mountain wall, with An Hao following closely. Si Yenner gritted her teeth and followed. Within the strong light, An Hao couldn't cast spells, and even his divine sense couldn't spread out, forcing him to forge ahead. After about 10 steps he suddenly bumped into someone and quickly stopped. Just as he was about to speak, the strong light before him faded, restoring his vision. What came into his view was a magnificent and beautiful world. They stood on a cliff, in front of boundless green mountains, with a blue sky and interwoven white clouds. Such rich spiritual energy. And Hao was drawn to the area's spiritual energy and couldn't help but take a deep breath. "What is that?" Si Yenner exclaimed, pointing to the distant forest. And Hao turned his head and followed her direction, seeing the trees swaying as if a gigantic beast was moving through them a few miles away. "This is truly blessing," a loud and ancient voice echoed through the skies. "Mahayana realm." And Hao and Si Yenner's hearts raced. Guan remained calm, sensing the presence of 4 spirit beasts comparable to the unification realm, as well as a Mahayana realm remnant soul in this minor heaven and earth. The remnant soul was located within a stone statue hundreds of miles away, very weak. Guan spoke, "Go and give it a try, see if you have such blessing." Upon hearing this, An Hao immediately leaped into the forest, followed by Si Yenner. After paying her respects to Guan. "Wait for me!" Si Yenner shouted, quickly disappearing into the forest. Guan's figure vanished, crossing a distance of hundreds of miles, reaching halfway up a mountain where a stone statue identical to the one in the cave chamber stood. Chapter 154. Gathering ascenders on the hillside. A gentle breeze blew, rustling Guan's robe as he stared at the stone statue in front of him. His divine sense had already penetrated the statue, capturing the residual soul within. This residual soul looked exactly like the stone statue, representing an old man. The soul body was curled up as if in a deep sleep. Earlier, the sound was triggered by some kind of restriction that activated whenever any living being entered this cave mansion. Moreover, during his investigation, Guan discovered that there were other transmission arrays in this minor heaven and earth within the cave mansion. Including the one they came through, there were a total of 8 transmission arrays, each corresponding to different directions, which led him to speculate more about this cave mansion. A Mahayana cultivator's cave mansion. Guan raised his hand, drawing out the residual soul from within the stone statue. A ball of light appeared in his palm. Taoist Star Master, Mahayana Realm 3rd Layer 0/0/0, all zeros? Did this mean Taoist Star Master was truly dead? He immediately sent his divine sense into the residual soul of Taoist Star Master, performing the soul-capturing skill to search for memories. Rumble, in the distance came earth-shaking sounds, the noises of An Hao and Si Yenner battling, entangled with a group of wooden puppets. Guan didn't turn around, focusing on soul-searching. An ancient hour later. The residual soul in Guan's hand dissipated into smoke. Taoist Star Master had indeed long perished, leaving behind a residual soul in hopes of revival or taking over a body. However, the secret technique he used to preserve his soul couldn't withstand the erosion of time. Over the long years, his soul power was completely exhausted, leaving only a soul shell with some memories. Taoist Star Master came from the 7-star spirit realm, regarded as the holy land of this continent. In Taoist Star Master's memories, Guan learned a terrifying truth. The demon ancestor actually originated from the 7-star spirit realm. Taoist Star Master and several sect mates were ordered to bring the demon ancestor out, to nurture and have him create the demon clan. Later, for unknown reasons, Taoist Star Master left the 7-star spirit realm, journeyed south to the sea to escape the continent, but was ambushed by other cultivators from the 7-star spirit realm, severely injured, and finally hid in the Tianwei to open a grotto heaven, from which he never emerged until his final moment. Guan didn't see the true form of the demon ancestor from his memories. The demon ancestor was sealed in a wooden box, deeply feared by Taoist Star Master and his sect mates. After placing the box down, they immediately left, unsealing it remotely and quickly fleeing. However, when the wooden box was unsealed, the skyrocketing demon energy left a profound impression on Taoist Star Master. Apart from these memories, the rest were scenes of Taoist Star Master nurturing spirit beasts within the grotto heaven. The demon ancestor being related to the 7-star spirit realm greatly differed from the legends Tian Yaoer had heard. Various possibilities filled Guan's mind, but he had no desire to investigate further. Taoist Star Master was a Mahayana cultivator, indicating the likely presence of immortals within the Seven Stars spirit realm. At this stage he absolutely could not appear on the Seven Stars spirit realm's radar. His greatest advantage was having no grudges or enemies, allowing him to steadily grow stronger. With that thought, Guan turned around, ready to harvest the medicinal herbs here and transport a batch of heavenly treasures away. By dusk, Guan returned to the Third Medicine Valley. This afternoon's harvest extended his life by over 300,000 years. He could continue the harvesting in the future, as the grotto heaven was vast and had become a self-sustaining ecosystem, so he didn't uproot everything. How could he be short-sighted and destroy a place that could continuously extend his life just for temporary greed? The plants that could extend his life must contain spiritual power or spiritual energy, essentially ranking as heavenly treasures. The majority of plants in the grotto heaven were ordinary, and the dense spiritual energy was due to the cave mansion's restrictions that prevented leakage. And Hao and Si Yenner were still inside that cave mansion, making friends with the spirit beasts there, facing no danger for now. Taoist Star Master left behind cultivation techniques and divine skills in the grotto heaven, enough for Hao and Si Yenner to explore for years. As soon as he returned to the pavilion, Lu Lingjun came to see him. With the door closed, Lu Lingjun sat down at the table and said, "Don't wander around every day. Today I felt a strong divine sense coming from the outer gate city. The moment it sensed mine, it withdrew. I couldn't trace its whereabouts." "Are you saying there's a potential danger within the Supreme Sect?" Guan asked with a frown. Lu Lingjun nodded. "It should be a demon. A demon's divine sense is different from a cultivator's, and I've dealt with demons enough to see through this point." Being able to evade Lu Lingjun's probing indicated their target was also at the Mystic Heart Realm. A Mystic Heart Realm demon? Guan planned to investigate the Supreme Sect at night, at least to ensure it posed no threat to his Medicine Valley. "With you here, whether the intruder is a demon or not, they surely wouldn't dare touch my Medicine Valley. In the future, the Third Medicine Valley will count on your protection. Don't worry, I will personally cultivate your medicinal herbs." Guan smiled, revealing admiration, which Lu Lingjun enjoyed. Lu Lingjun snorted, "Rest assured, unless the mountain god descends, no one can damage the Third Medicine Valley." After reaching the Mystic Heart Realm, she regained the arrogance she once had while overlooking the lower realm. She felt her path of immortal cultivation had just begun. After chatting for a while, Lu Lingjun finally revealed her true purpose. She used the reminder of the great demon in the sect as a pretext. Her real intention was to have Guan write a book with her as the protagonist, similar to the book about the Supreme Immortal Venerable. "You are a Mystic Heart Realm cultivator. If you desire, you could easily gain fame. Why would you need me to write?" Guan hesitated. He didn't expect Lu Lingjun to have this hobby. Raising her eyebrows, Lu Lingjun said, "Name your price." "You're at it again. What kind of talk is that?" "When I returned from the Taichin dynasty earlier, I sensed an 8th-rank spirit tree hidden within a certain sect. If you help me write the book, I'll steal that tree afterward. If you dare to steal, I don't dare to take it. I can use a secret technique to seal the tree. Once the turmoil subsides, you can find a place to plant it." "I don't have a place to plant it. Don't pretend. You must be hiding something. Why else would you go out so often?" "Ahem, don't slander me. Writing the book is negotiable, but don't defame me, understand?" Feeling amused by Guan's words, Lu Lingjun laughed. Yes, I won't slander you. How could you have any secrets? You are selfless and dedicated to the Supreme Sect." That's more like it. Now tell me your story so I can seek inspiration." Guan nodded in satisfaction. Recently, with some free time, writing a book wasn't a bad idea, showcasing his calligraphy skills to the world. Lu Lingjun fell into her memories and began telling her story. One whole night passed as she spoke. At dawn, Lu Lingjun finally left Guan's pavilion. Early morning training, Tang Yu saw this and widened his eyes, quickly averting his gaze, pretending he hadn't seen anything. The news that Lu Lingjun was an elder in the sect had already spread through the valley. Disciples kept their distance from her out of respect. "Master is truly impressive, even the sect elder couldn't escape his charm. Indeed, a handsome face can bridge the gap in cultivation levels," Tang Yu thought to himself. As Lu Lingjun returned to her pavilion, Guan overheard her conversation with the White Spirit Demon Emperor. Lu Lingjun had placed advanced restrictions on her pavilion, but they had no effect on Guan, and their pavilions were adjacent, making it easy for him to eavesdrop. Can we really connect with other ascenders through his book? Hard to say, but it's worth a try. Pan-An's reputation has spread throughout the 9 dynasties. I can't exactly announce that I'm an ascender, Can I? True, though your idea is quite good. If you can unite other ascenders and form your strength, it would greatly aid your future bid for the sect leader's position. Hearing this, Guan put down his pen, falling into deep thought. Noon in the outer gate city. Upon the heavenly repair platform, a white-robed man arrived at the bottom of the orthographic symbol. He marveled at the sword intent contained within, his eyes filled with astonishment. Just this sword intent alone likely makes Sword Venerable Fudao invincible in the mystic heart realm. It's uncertain if he's reached an even higher level. The white-robed man was in awe, squatting down to touch it. Hey, don't touch randomly or the sword intent might hurt you. A voice came from beside him. The speaker was Zuolin. Ever since Sword Venerable Fudao used Zuijian's sword to kill enemies, Zuijian had no longer come to the heavenly repair platform, staying cooped in his room, comprehending that sword. Not even his son could disturb him. Zuolin had no other means to comprehend Sword Venerable Fudao's sword intent and could only sit in silence at the heavenly repair platform. The white-robed man looked at Zuolin and asked with a smile, "Brother, how long have you been at the heavenly repair platform?" Zuolin replied, "Since these two characters came into being, I've been meditating here." "You seem new. First time here?" He eyed the white-robed man suspiciously. The heavenly repair platform was filled with many stories, leading him to overthink. The white-robed man laughed, "I come from the Qintang dynasty. This year I just joined the Supreme Sect as a guest elder of the Outer Sect. My joining was inspired by Sword Venerable Fudao." Hearing this, Zuolin immediately beckoned him over, signaling him to sit beside him. The white-robed man didn't hesitate and quickly came over to sit down. Zuolin was about to speak when he suddenly saw someone, his eyes lit up, and he called out immediately, "Guan, come over here." In the distance, Guan wandered through the crowd, appearing idle. Hearing Zuolin's call, he hesitated for a moment but still walked towards him. The white-robed man turned his head, seeing the person Zuolin called out to be a Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator, then shifted his attention away. Guan conducted a lifespan detection on him. Dixia, Mystic Heart Realm 3rd Layer 2450/8000/19000. A demon over 2000 years old. The reason Guan came to the Outer Gate City was precisely because of Dixia. The demon who alarmed Lu Lingjun was Dixia. Dixia cultivated some special technique, showing no traces of demon energy on him, but his technique couldn't escape the divine sense of a Nirvana Realm great cultivator. Watching Guan approach slowly, Zuolin remarked to Dixia, "Though my cultivation is low, I have an exquisite spirit heart. At a glance I could tell you were exceptional." Hearing this, Dixia's heart tensed. Chapter 155 Shattering Void. Engagement. Zuolin's words made Dixia's expression suddenly unnatural, but what Zuolin said next left him not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "You must be a genius. I've never misjudged anyone's talent or chi fortune." Zuolin looked smug, lifting his chin and gesturing for Dixia to look at Guan, saying, "Don't be fooled by this kid's mere Foundation Establishment Realm cultivation level. He's not simple either. In fact, my judgment has proved correct. He's now a Golden List genius." Guan walked over, resignedly saying, "What sort of genius am I? Making it onto the Golden List was just good luck." Zuolin pulled Guan to sit down and then had Dixia and Guan introduce themselves to each other. Dixia was very composed and treated Guan quite well, showing none of the airs of a guest elder. Zuolin was very interested in Dixia, and upon hearing that Dixia wanted to learn about Sword Venerable Fudao, he didn't hide anything and began telling stories of Sword Venerable Fudao's exploits. Dixia listened attentively. Before he came, he had heard that the #1 cultivator of the 9 dynasties was either the Taoist of Immortality from 3 Pure Ones Mountain or the Sword Venerable Fudao from Supreme Sect. Among them, Sword Venerable Fudao was the most mysterious. Though he had repeatedly aided the Supreme Sect, no one knew his true identity. Guan found it amusing to listen to Zuolin boast about his other identity. At the same time he was also observing Dixia. In the following half an hour, Guan didn't sense any malice from Dixia and could only hold back his suspicions for the time being. A great demon calamity was imminent, and a Mystic Heart Realm great demon had infiltrated the Supreme Sect, the purpose of which was unknown. Guan feared Dixia might suspect him, so he took the chance to slip away. There was plenty of time to come, and he could slowly observe Dixia since Dixia was planning to comprehend sword intent at the heavenly repair platform. In the days to come, Guan would use his divine sense every day to observe Dixia. The more he watched, the more he felt Dixia might truly harbor no ill will. he just seemed to earnestly want to learn swordsmanship. Before, when Wuxia had swept the surroundings with his divine sense, he was probably just looking for sword venerable Fudao. Spring went and autumn came. 2 years passed in the blink of an eye. In these 2 years, Guan's lifespan had increased rapidly. Starmaster Cave had provided him with an enormous amount of lifespan. His lifespan had already broken through 6,500,000, getting ever closer to the 10 million mark. One day, Guan visited the book collection hall in the Outer Gate City and, under the name Panin, published a new book titled Shattering Void. Lu Chang, the elder who had once taken care of Panin, had passed away, and he was received by Feng Shang, the great elder of the book collection hall. Feng Shang was thrilled to receive Panin for the first time, bombarding Guan with compliments and guaranteeing that he would handle the book's follow-up matters well. Only after an hour at the book collection hall did Guan manage to get away. Feng Shang was simply too enthusiastic. In Feng Shang's eyes, Guan was a tremendous opportunity. As long as he arranged Panin's new book properly, his career would skyrocket. After leaving the book collection hall, Guan strolled around the city. As the Supreme Sect grew stronger each year, the Outer Gate City became very bustling. Every street was crowded and even stalls appeared, selling all kinds of odd and remarkable items. In the last year, Guan had taken to wandering the city streets whenever he was free. As he walked, Guan spotted a familiar face. Du Yi. Guan approached to greet him. Both being house servants of the Ji family and having been accepted into the Supreme Sect together, their relationship was not close, but they would chat if they bumped into each other in the outer sect. Du Yi was fiddling with a small gourd at a stall. Hearing Guan's voice, he reluctantly set the gourd down, stood up and looked at Guan. When Guan reached him, Du Yi greeted him with a smile asking, "Are you here treasure hunting too?" Guan laughed and replied, "There aren't that many treasures to find. I'm just browsing and enjoying the buzz. How have you been lately?" 92-year-old Du Yi looked just over 40. He hadn't taken any youth-preserving pills when he was younger, unlike Guan who appeared youthful. In the immortal cultivation world, not every cultivator seeks a youthful appearance. Some believe that maturity conveys more presence. Don't get me started. I attempted the foundation establishment recently and failed, wasting a foundation establishment pill in the process, Du Yi said gloomily. He was genuinely a low-level cultivator in the immortal cultivation world, of mediocre talent, who had to do odd jobs for young masters from significant families for cultivation resources. Guan consoled him, then took out a medicine bottle with 2 foundation establishment pills inside. Holding the medicine bottle, Du Yi hesitated. He didn't want to accept Guan's charity, but he couldn't bear to refuse. For a low-level cultivator like him, reaching the foundation establishment was a lifelong dream. Guan smiled and said, "Don't mention it, after all we grew up together. I hope you live a few more decades. When we're old we can reminisce about our youth." Hearing this, Du Yi felt a warm sensation and remembered that he had once told Guan to seek his help if he ever encountered any troubles. If there was any way he could help, he wouldn't hesitate. Half a lifetime later, Guan had never sought his help. Instead, Du Yi began to owe Guan favors. Du Yi lightly patted Guan's shoulder, no longer refusing. He put the medicine bottle into his storage bag. "By the way, I heard something recently. Our third miss has been betrothed," Du Yi suddenly said in a low voice. Hearing this, Guan was stunned and asked with curiosity, "Betrothed? To whom?" Hearing of Ji Xiaoyu's engagement, his heart couldn't help but ripple. Perhaps it was because Ji Xiaoyu had once saved him as a child. Even after growing up, Ji Xiaoyu had been kind to him, not treating him like a house servant and giving him many things to help with his cultivation. Could even such a girl of heavenly pride not escape an arranged marriage? Thinking of this, Guan felt quite emotional. Du Yi shook his head and said, "How would I know? But it seems that only the engagement is set, there's no date for the wedding yet. I think the young master and the others are very happy, so the other party must be quite significant." "That's a given, being able to marry into the Ji family is beyond our imagination," Guan said with a laugh. The two of them chatted for a bit more and then Guan bid farewell to Du Yi. He didn't go back to Medicine Valley but continued to wander around the city. The book collection hall acted quickly and in less than a month, Shattering Void appeared in the book collection halls of various cities. Riding on the reputation accumulated from investiture of the gods and supreme immortal venerable, Panin's new book caused a sensation as soon as it hit the shelves, sweeping through the Supreme Sect. A month later, the name Shattering Void had spread throughout the Taitsong immortal cultivation world and started reaching the other 8 dynasties. Lu Lingjun also bought the book, and as soon as she finished reading, she went straight to Guan. It's written quite well. The male protagonist harbors a great demon inside him that leads the way on his journey of immortal cultivation despite his mediocre talent. But, Lu Lingjun frowned as she spoke. What but? Asked Guan. Why is it called Shattering Void? She stared intently at Guan as if trying to see through him. Guan responded with a puzzled look. Didn't you say that ascending is your pursuit in your homeland? Doesn't Shattering Void appeal to you? Hearing this, Lu Lingjun couldn't help but nod, saying, Indeed, it's very appealing. Then you should continue writing it well. She mocked herself internally. How could this kid have guessed that she was an ascender? Then they started discussing the book Shattering Void, and Lu Lingjun made many demands. Guan wasn't agreeable at first, but when she brought out a pile of heavenly materials and earthly treasures, he changed his tune, saying he would consider it. Lu Lingjun was amused by his greed. After Lu Lingjun left, he took out Daoist Xuanchuan and started to read. Shattering Void was only written because someone asked for it, but the classics that are truly worth appreciating are in Daoist Xuanchuan. With the release of Pan An's book, the servant disciples of Mystic Valley and the Third Medicine Valley also began discussing it, and Pan An's name proved to be more influential than Guan had imagined. Half a month later, when Guan returned to the Third Medicine Valley, he sensed LV Baitian's presence. Counting the days, it had been more than 10 years since he last saw him. Guan went to the attic to meet with the long-waiting LV Baitian. He closed the door of the room and then approached LV Baitian, raising his hand in salute. LV Baitian looked the same as he had many years ago. He gestured for Guan to sit down. After Guan took his seat, LV Baitian finally asked, What made you think of publishing a book recently? It was a spur-of-the-moment thing. Did you read it too? Replied Guan. I did. It's not as good as Investiture. That's true, Guan said sincerely. He believed that himself. LV Baitian changed the subject abruptly. Is Su Han your disciple? Upon hearing this, Guan feigned nervousness and asked, He used to be. What about him? LV Baitian stared at Guan and said, He has also cultivated the Defying Fate divine skill. What? Guan was visibly shocked. He hastened to explain, I didn't teach it to him. Over these years I haven't even seen him. Since LV Baitian had passed the Defying Fate divine skill to Guan, he had barely practiced it because he couldn't abandon his cultivation to start over. LV Baitian snorted and said, Of course I know you didn't pass it on. As a matter of fact, I didn't create the Defying Fate divine skill either. I also received it from someone else. I can tell you directly that Defying Fate divine skill comes from the Ephemera sect. Now that Su Han has also learned it, it indicates that the remnants of the Ephemera sect have not been completely eradicated. Guan's eyes widened, displaying a look of disbelief. He thought of the 9 Nether 13 Evil and the Ghost Mother of Ephemera. Could it be that they had approached Su Han? Sect leader you, Guan looked at LV Baitian, unsure of what to say, a mix of emotions crossing his face. He really wanted to say, I also have an identity concerning the Ephemera sect. I am the sect hierarch of the Ephemera sect. LV Baitian chuckled, Don't worry. I just have karma with the Ephemera sect. I don't actually come from there. In my youth I made a Taoist friend who was from the Ephemera sect. Before she died, she passed the Defying Fate divine skill on to me. It is because of this skill that I could achieve what I have. Don't talk about this past to anyone. If you do, I surely won't be able to hold on to my position as sect leader. Ever since the Supreme Elders returned, my position has become increasingly unstable. He concluded with a self-deprecating laugh. Guan immediately responded, Of course I won't speak of it as long as you don't harm the interests of the Supreme Sect. LV Baitian glared at him, feigning annoyance, but he was inwardly very pleased. He's truly worthy of being the sect leader I picked. Following that, LV Baitian said, Su Han has learned the Hateful Heaven divine sword and inherited the Defying Fate divine skill. His progress will be rapid from now on. How close are you with him? If you're close, be cautious. It's clear that Su Han has a mastermind behind him. I'm afraid that person will come after you to make Su Han hate this world even more. Chapter 156 Innate Divine Skills Persecuting Me? Guan almost laughed. Whoever wanted to persecute him must have had a death wish. With his ability to foresee potential threats, he could detect anyone who harbored hostility towards his true self at the first moment. At least for now, no one bore him ill will. Guan usually acted kindly towards others, making it hard for anyone to hold a grudge against him. Apart from the supreme sect, not many people knew him. Faced with Bashan's scrutiny, Guan frowned and pondered, I can't say for sure. I treated him quite well, but back when the sword sect was hunting him down, I advised him to abandon the hateful heaven divine sword. Maybe he holds some resentment towards me because of that. Badian nodded and said, having some resentment is good. At least you won't become his weak point. But you should still pray he doesn't hate you. Otherwise, if he grows stronger, you'll be in trouble. His tone became teasing towards the end. Guan shrugged and said, I believe the supreme sect will protect me. If I encounter danger here, then there must be a serious issue with the supreme sect. You cheeky brat, you're mocking me, aren't you? Not at all. I trust you, sect leader, so please don't make fun of me. As a minor cultivator, I don't want to get involved in bigger troubles. Nothing to do with the ephemera sect or the hateful heaven divine sword, I'd prefer it that way. Guan said helplessly. Seeing his expression, Badian suddenly felt ashamed, thinking he shouldn't have teased him. Guan didn't possess the cultivation level of the Unification Realm's 9th layer. Facing the threat of the hateful heaven divine sword, he must have been very afraid, but was just putting up a brave front. With that thought, Bashan's face turned serious and he said, as long as you stay within the supreme sect, nothing will happen to you. At least here I can ensure your safety. Obviously he was hinting at Guan about going to Qinya Valley. Although Badian didn't know where Qinya Valley was, he knew that Guan frequently left Mystic Valley, but he never asked about it. Badian started talking about Li Xiandao. The Taizong dynasty's offensive was swift and fierce, opening no fewer than 5 battlefields in collaboration with the Great Yu dynasty. The neighboring dynasty was about to collapse. Badian indeed didn't like Li Xiandao, but he had to admit that Li Xiandao was very skilled in employing people, always managing to find geniuses or capable generals. From Guan's point of view, he hoped Li Xiandao could unify the 9 dynasties. Unity would better resist the demon disaster. After unification, order could be established, and the world would be peaceful for the right path. Peace in the world would also help him survive. For the lower-level cultivators, peace was also a good thing. There might be fewer opportunities, but how many lower-level cultivators could turn their fate with an opportunity? Cultivators who turned their fate with opportunities were far fewer than those who died in conflicts. The two talked for a long time until evening before Badian finally left. Guan couldn't help but feel that Badian had lost some of his sharpness from years ago. Starmaster Cave. Guan, masked, appeared on a cliff, his divine sense sweeping over to see and how staying in a cave. Inside the cave was a pool filled with blood-colored water, wherein Hao was practicing, his chi blood continually increasing. Si Yener was in the forest practicing her step technique. After spending 2 years in this grotto heaven, both Hao and Si Yener had received various inheritances, rapidly improving their skills. It would take many years for them to fully inherit Daoist Starmaster's legacy. After all, Daoist Starmaster was in the Mahayana realm, and his lifetime legacy was extremely vast. Even though Hao had matchless talent, it would take a lot of time to absorb it all. Guan just glanced at them, then went to pick the celestial treasures in the forest. His aura was hidden, unnoticed by the spirit beasts within the grotto heaven. These Unification Realm spirit beasts were very gentle and had formed good relations with Hao and Si Yener, but to avoid unnecessary trouble, Guan still acted quietly. After an hour, Guan left, satisfied. This trip had gained him 50,000 years of lifespan. Since no one cultivated the treasures in Starmaster Cave, Guan also didn't want to do so, fearing that people from the 7 Stars spirit realm might come after him. He could only patiently wait for the celestial treasures in this grotto heaven to grow naturally. That's why he picked only a small amount every time, leaving half behind to self-reproduce. He quickly arrived at Nianchu Cave. One night last month, with Guan's protection, Tian Yaoer successfully crossed her tribulation and entered the core formation realm. She had been consolidating her cultivation ever since. Landing on the ground, Guan sensed that her demonic power had stabilized, which indicated that she had consolidated her cultivation. He deliberately made footsteps as he walked towards a garden area. Tian Yaoer pushed the door open and, like a gust of wind, came to Guan's side, directly hugging his left arm, excitedly saying, "Master, my demon core has fully formed, and I've even comprehended a divine skill." Feeling the softness from his left arm, Guan marveled internally. A demon was indeed a demon. She appeared very slim, yet her figure was astonishing. He naturally withdrew his arm and walked a few steps forward, squatting down to pick medicinal herbs, while asking, "What kind of divine skill?" Tian Yaoer came to his side, bending at the waist, hands on her knees, and smiled sweetly. A transformation divine skill, I'm very powerful now. As soon as she finished speaking, a wave of demon energy spread from her body, covering her figure. Guan turned his head to look. As the demon energy dissipated, Tian Yaoer had transformed into his exact image, her aura indistinguishable from his, with no trace of demon energy. This surprised him. This divine skill was not bad. Guan placed the harvested medicinal herbs into his storage bag, stood up and curiously asked, "Can you teach me this divine skill?" Tian Yaoer shook her head and said, "I wish I could, but there's no mental method or incantation for it. This divine skill seems to come naturally to me like speaking. It's very easy for me to use, but I don't know how to teach it." She transformed back into her previous appearance, demon energy swirling, and clutched Guan's mask. Guan took a step back and Tian Yaoer, in red, placed her hands on her hips and laughed proudly. "Master, how was it? Isn't my divine skill amazing?" Her bright eyes turned into two crescent moons with joy, making Guan unable to resist reaching out to pat her head, ruffling her hair. After praising Tian Yaoer a few times, Guan had her return to her cultivation. Guan rarely visited, so Tian Yaoer didn't want to cultivate and instead stayed by his side, chattering incessantly about trivial matters, like a crooked flower or bumping into a tree while practicing the limitless freedom step. She could only stay in Yenshu Cave with no contact with other demon creatures, so if it were Guan, he wouldn't have so much to talk about. Guan didn't get annoyed. On the contrary, he listened attentively, occasionally responding, which made Tian Yaoer even happier. For a long while, Tian Yaoer followed Guan to a stone table, where he took out bottles of elixirs for her cultivation, instructing her on how to take them. "Once you master the limitless freedom step, I can take you out for a walk." Guan looked at Tian Yaoer and said seriously. Having stayed in Yenshu Cave for so many years, Tian Yaoer never requested to go out. Her attitude towards the medicinal herbs was very serious too. At least Guan couldn't find any fault in her. Guan had already accepted Tian Yaoer, no longer seeing her as a mere demon slave. Tian Yaoer wasn't too excited. Instead, she pouted and said, "The limitless freedom step is too hard. Who knows how many years I'll need to master it. Even the Heaven Phoenix Demon Mother didn't achieve her power in just a few decades. The strong beings in this world have all endured long lonely years before they could act as they pleased." Guan said earnestly. Tian Yaoer nodded and said, "I understand, I'll definitely work hard in my cultivation." Guan noticed that she no longer kept talking about revenge. He wondered if she kept it in her heart or had given up on the idea. He didn't leave immediately but sat down and started explaining the primordial earth immortal skill to Tian Yaoer. The core formation was just the beginning. Tian Yaoer still had a long way to go. If he could nurture a peerless great demon, Guan would certainly feel a sense of accomplishment. Tian Yaoer's ultimate lifespan was 18,000 years, meaning she would be with Guan for the longest time. Perhaps to avoid loneliness in the future, Guan's teachings to Tian Yaoer were no less than his instructions to Anhao. Dark clouds covered the sky, the mountainous terrain undulated unevenly, and as far as the eye could see, the hills and valleys were sparse with vegetation. Most of the trees were withered, stripped of their leaves. Desolate, silent. Two figures walked through the mountains, one of them being Guan's disciple Su Han. After decades, Su Han had undergone a complete transformation. He wore black, carried a bone sword, and had a red string tied around his forehead and knotted at the back, casually binding his black hair. His eyebrows exuded malevolence, with a cold, indifferent gaze. Ahead of Su Han walked a frail old man, turning back repeatedly with obsequious smiles. "Sir, up ahead is the habitat of the holy beast Sky Dragon. Although this Sky Dragon is under 100 years old, it has a peculiar temper, so you must be careful," the frail old man warned. Su Han looked forward, where amidst the darkness, a massive mountain faintly appeared, intermittently echoing with shrill cries, making the place daunting and terrifying. He ordered, "You go attract it first, I'll follow soon." The frail old man's face turned pale upon hearing this, quickly waving his hands. "With my cultivation level, I'm afraid." Su Han's eyes turned cold, making the old man shiver, and he hastily agreed, flying ahead and quickly disappearing into the darkness. Not long after, a dragon roar erupted from ahead, shaking the heavens and earth. Su Han then took down the bone sword from his back, with terrifying black energy seeping from his orifices, making him appear as if possessed by a demon. "Who dares trespass the forbidden grounds of the ancient Sky Sect?" A furious, elderly shout came, and a gray-robed burly man suddenly flew over the mountain peak, attacking Su-han. Su-han, with his back to him, did not turn around. He continued walking forward with his sword. At that moment, a ghostly figure appeared behind him, swinging its palm to gather terrifying ghost energy into a massive black wing. The gray-robed burly man's face changed drastically, using his spiritual power to resist, but he was still sent flying by the attack. "I advise you to pretend you saw nothing, or it would be a pity if you were to die." An icy female voice came from the mysterious ghostly figure. If Guwen were here, he would definitely recognize the voice. Ghost Mother of Ephemera. Chapter 157. Different Paths. Downfall. Late at night, deep underground in the Mystic Valley, inside the 8 scenic caves. Guwen was sitting under a green vine tree reading a book, leaning against the main trunk, with 2 tree vines gently massaging his shoulders. He suddenly put down the book and sat up straight. "What's wrong, Master? Was the pressure too much?" The green vine tree emitted a weak, pitiful female voice. Guwen replied, "No, I just have something to attend to. I need to leave." The green vine tree trembled, quickly saying, "Master, don't forget to bring some lamb meat next time." Guwen waved his hand and then disappeared from the spot. He took a step out of the Supreme Sect's boundaries and arrived at the top of a mountain. It was late autumn, the night wind was chilly, fluttering his robe. He gazed into the distance. He felt that the Sky Dragon was in trouble. Although he and the Sky Dragon hadn't formed a contract, ever since the Sky Dragon was born, they established a subtle connection. This connection was similar to the feeling when Sage Shen Miao summoned him. He extended his divine sense along this subtle connection. Soon he locked onto a certain sect. His divine sense pierced through layers of restrictions and entered a minor heaven and earth similar to the Starmaster Cave. The Ghost Mother of Ephemera, and the 9 Nether 13 Evil. These guys were fighting with great cultivators of the ancient Sky Sect. Guwen's divine sense locked onto the Sky Dragon, his expression becoming strange. The person fighting with the Sky Dragon was surprisingly Su-han. Su-han's aura had already approached the nascent soul realm, but his aura was very chaotic, giving the impression that he could deviate at any moment. The Sky Dragon, although lazy and not much of a cultivator, relied on its powerful bloodline talent. Su-han couldn't take it down quickly. The 20 Zhonglong Sky Dragon twisted its body, occasionally spewing scorching flames. Su-han's figure was ghostly, skillfully dodging, and occasionally swinging his sword, sending sword chi slashing at the Sky Dragon, causing its dragon blood to splatter continuously. In his other hand, Su-han held a cloth bag collecting the Sky Dragon's blood. After a moment of hesitation, Guwen decided to intervene. In the dim heavens and earth, the Sky Dragon was fleeing through the mountains and wilds, with Su-han wielding a bone sword relentlessly pursuing. "Damn it! Were you really? I will never forgive you in the future." The Sky Dragon roared, shaking the mountain forests, its voice still childish, like that of a young boy. Su-han's cold voice came from behind, "Hateful Heaven Divine Sword, Su-han." The Sky Dragon's eyes narrowed, clearly having heard of the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword, showing fear in its eyes. It ran even faster, twisting its body like an eel. Su-han leaped into the air, flying high and slashed down. The sword chi was immense, condensing into 7 sword shadows, attacking the Sky Dragon. Each sword shadow's tail had several ghosts, as if evil spirits were pushing the swords, terrifying under the night sky. A dark purple demonic shadow appeared out of nowhere on the Sky Dragon's head, grabbing and dispersing Su-han's sword chi in midair. Su-han's eyes widened. Was him. Su-han couldn't forget the mysterious demonic shadow that killed his master, Zhong Liang, recognizing it at a glance. Boom. A terrifying divine sense instantly struck his mind, causing him to faint immediately, falling into the mountain forests. The Sky Dragon also suffered a divine sense attack, instantly falling unconscious, its massive body crashing down, kicking up clouds of dust. Guwen appeared before Su-han, who lay on the grass, life or death uncertain. At this moment, the Ghost Mother of Ephemera suddenly appeared before Su-han, half kneeling, clasping her hands in apology. "Please forgive me, Sect Hierarch. We did not know the Sky Dragon was connected to you." The ghostly energy around her dissipated, revealing a pale female face. Her gaze towards Guwen was filled with joy. Guwen coldly asked, "Are you the Ghost Mother of Ephemera?" Although he had seen the Ghost Mother of Ephemera before, Sword Venerable Fu Dao had not, so he had to ask. "I am indeed the Ghost Mother of Ephemera." The ghost mother of ephemera respectfully answered. Guin continued, the ancient sky sect is also under my protection. The sky dragon is the holy beast of the ancient sky sect. You are not allowed to seize it. By saying this, he indicated that he intervened for the sake of the ancient sky sect, not for the sky dragon. Upon hearing this, the ghost mother of ephemera cautiously asked, why do you protect both sects? Guin countered, the ephemera sect is already destroyed. Why don't you return to the Nine Nether Road? The ghost mother of ephemera replied helplessly, we indeed wish to return, but the path back on the Nine Nether Road has been blocked by cultivators of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. We can only escape back. The Seven Stars Spirit Realm? Hearing this, Guin became more certain that the demonic catastrophe was being driven by the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. Is this young man your disciple? Guin asked. The ghost mother of ephemera looked at Guin, shrouded in demonic energy, hesitated for a moment, then said, he is not my disciple, just a pawn. With the impending demonic catastrophe, I wanted to cultivate him to become my strength to break through the Nine Nether Road. Using Su Han to fight against the cultivators of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm within the Nine Nether Road? Guin couldn't help but feel pity for Su Han, but he had no intention of saving him. Su Han's desire for power had become an obsession. Even without the ghost mother of ephemera, he would still go astray. In Su Han's eyes, he wasn't committing evil, but merely striving to become stronger. Guin didn't personally eliminate Su Han because he had not heard of Su Han slaughtering innocent civilians. Those who died at Su Han's hands were indeed many, but they were all people with grudges against him. Most of them wanted to remove the hateful Heaven Divine Sword but were instead killed by him. The hateful Heaven Divine Sword was Su Han's ancestral swordsmanship, so he and Guin were not true master and disciple. Guin merely provided him with some elixirs. Past ties of master and disciple had been severed. Su Han's life or death was no longer related to Guin. Guin mainly wanted to see Su Han's fate. Su Han, who had mastered the defying fate divine skill, could devour the spiritual power of other cultivators. To some extent, it was similar to Guin's ability to seize lifespan. But Su Han's path was completely different from Guin's. Wherever this young man went, he fought, and his fierce reputation spread far and wide. The ghost mother of ephemera revealed the effects of the defying fate divine skill, which were exactly the same as those known to Guin, with no exaggeration. From the ghost mother of ephemera's perspective, she naturally didn't know Sword Venerable Fu Dao knew the defying fate divine skill, so she spoke frankly. Perhaps she genuinely wanted to make Guin the sect hierarch of the ephemera sect. In the land we come from, the ephemera sect has stood for tens of thousands of years. The spiritual energy there far surpasses that of the 9 dynasties. Although the ephemera sect has been destroyed by the mountain god, it was the traitors who defected to butcher immortal Jing who were wiped out. Our sect's orthodox disciples still remain. If you return with me, in at most 1,000 years, the ephemera sect can restore its former glory. The ghost mother of ephemera said earnestly. Guin asked, is it just because I know the Taitsong divine shocking sword? Aren't you afraid it'll sacrifice you all like the actions of the ephemera sect? Knowing the Taitsong divine shocking sword is one reason. I have stayed in the supreme sect for many years and learned about your deeds. Your ability to inscribe the words righteous path on the heavenly repair platform speaks to your character. If you are willing to lead the ephemera sect, you can certainly guide it towards the right path. The ephemera tree may be an evil entity, but the ephemera sect was originally founded by subduing this tree to save lives and thus established its Taoist tradition. As she spoke, she raised her right hand, and a token appeared in her hand. This is the token of the sect hierarch of the ephemera sect. The deceased hierarch had always been searching for this token, not knowing it was in my possession. This token can find all members of the ephemera sect and locate the hidden inheritance of true disciples. Guin extended his hand, his divine sense entering the token. He sensed a powerful restriction, which could not be broken by anyone below the Mahayana realm. Of course, this restriction was formidable to others, but it was as if non-existent before him. As his divine sense entered the token, he felt as if he was overlooking the land. He saw a chaotic, dim world with only landforms, no flowers or living beings. Through the scenes within the token, he could see the positions of other ephemera sect cultivators. Apart from this, the token had many other functions with numerous restrictions that intrigued Guin. He retracted his divine sense and said, "I'll temporarily hold on to this token. In the future, treat the token as though it's me." Upon hearing this, the ghost mother of Ephemera was overjoyed and quickly bowed to thank Guan. Guan then disappeared from the spot. The ghost mother of Ephemera immediately stood up and left with Su Han. As for the distant sky dragon, she dared not touch it again. Late autumn in the Mystic Valley. Guan watched his disciples sweep away the fallen leaves in various gardens while his divine sense was focused on the distance, observing the decisive battle between the Taizong dynasty and the Hanlu dynasty. LV Xian and Wu Ju were also participating, showcasing their prowess. They were already close to reaching the Hanlu dynasty's imperial city. Guan's focus was mainly on Yi Yan. Yi Yan was also from the Mystic Valley and had been guided in spear techniques and body tempering methods by Luo Hun and Zhou Tongyu. After building his foundation, he joined the army. Decades had passed. Yi Yan was now a general of the Taizong dynasty with illustrious military achievements. Although not yet in the core formation realm, his strength on the battlefield was formidable. After all, most soldiers were below the core formation realm. Those who reached it typically transcended the dynasty's constraints, seeking their own immortal path. Watching the battlefield, Guan felt like he was witnessing the investiture of the gods. Both sides had sects cultivators charging into battle, casting spells. The losing side would be overwhelmed by the army retreating step by step. Just as he was engrossed, Zhen Qin flew over on her sword and landed beside Guan. She whispered, "Master, senior brother Su Han has been wanted by the ancient sky sect." Guan nonchalantly said, "I've told you he's not your senior brother." Zhen Qin pouted, "He might not be my senior brother to outsiders, but we grew up together. How can I completely sever ties with him? Telling me won't help. What can I do?" "Master, I'm just feeling anxious and wanted to talk to you." Zhen Qin glared at him. Guan glanced at her, smiling, "Don't worry about him. He survived many years of being hunted. Instead of worrying about him, you should worry about yourself. You seem to encounter more danger than him." He referred to the time Zhen Qin was saved by Sage Xian Miao from the Law Enforcement Hall disciples. Although she didn't mention the existence of the mountain god, Yi Lan knew about her perilous experience and had informed Guan. Just as Zhen Qin was about to retort, she suddenly sensed something and took out her disciple token from her storage bag. Guan did the same, taking out his Valley Master token, and inserted his divine sense. Immediately he heard the voice of Gu Zong. Supreme Elder Kusong investigated the demon land and unfortunately perished. In 3 days, all disciples must gather in the affiliated city to pay respect to the ancestor. Chapter 158. Jiang Qiong returns, a hand in the night ancestor Kusong died? Guan heard Gu Zong's words and felt a bit dazed. Although he wasn't very close friends with ancestor Kusong, they had pleasant conversations whenever they were at the Intersect Book Collection Hall. Hearing the news of ancestor Kusong's demise gave him an indescribable feeling. The Supreme Elder has fallen. If I recall correctly, ancestor Kusong was at the Mystic Heart Realm, right? Zhen Qin frowned and said. When the Ephemera sect attacked back then, ancestor Kusong fought against Venerable Qi Qian, spreading his Dao name throughout the Supreme Sect. He had become the second most renowned great cultivator in the Supreme Sect, only next to Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Even Zhen Qin, who had no interaction with ancestor Kusong, felt sad upon hearing his demise. Guan looked up to the sky. He saw dark clouds indicating that a storm was about to come. Ancestor Kusong's death shocked the entire Supreme Sect, and the news quickly spread through the immortal cultivation world. 3 days later, Guan arrived at Intersect City as scheduled to attend ancestor Kusong's memorial service. Tens of thousands of disciples in the city mourned. Listening to the sect elders recount ancestor Kusong's life achievements, even newly inducted disciples felt sorrow. After recounting ancestor Kusong's life, the Supreme Sect also disclosed for the first time the impending great calamity of demons that would erupt decades later, causing an uproar among the cities. In the days that followed, various sects under the Taizong dynasty also announced this matter. The peace of the immortal cultivation world was once again shattered, and all cultivators felt a sense of crisis. A Mystic Heart Realm cultivator has already fallen. This calamity is far more terrifying than the previous Ephemera sect turmoil. Autumn faded into winter. Winter snow gradually covered Mystic Valley. On this day, Guan waited early at the Mystic Valley Pavilion because he felt a familiar aura approaching. Late at night, a figure appeared outside Guan's window. Guan went to open the window and let the visitor in. It was a white-robed woman wearing a bamboo hat. After entering, she took off the hat and looked back at Guan, who was setting up a restriction. She smiled and asked, "Did you miss me, obedient disciple?" After finishing the restriction, Guan turned around and curiously asked, "Where have you been all these years? Are you all right?" He cast a lifespan detection spell on Jiang Qiong. Jiang Qiong, Nascent Soul Realm Level 6 243/700/5490, 5,490 years of maximum lifespan. Guan remembered that Jiang Qiong's maximum lifespan was around 2,400 years. It seems there were great opportunities on the Nine Nether Road. Jiang Qiong smiled and said, "I went to a mysterious place and got great opportunities. How could your martial master not fare well?" Seeing Guan's concerned expression warmed Jiang Qiong's heart. Someone still thought of her in this world. Guan invited Jiang Qiong to sit down first and then started brewing tea. "Disciple, how have you been these years?" Jiang Qiong asked, her gaze sweeping over the room's decor. With his back to her, Guan replied, "As usual, growing flowers and herbs, reading books. Oh, and in the last Golden List tournament, I ranked among the top 500, thanks to the magic artifact bestowed by my sect seniors." Talking about the Golden List tournament, he felt proud and intentionally boasted to Jiang Qiong. In the past, Jiang Qiong might have been surprised, but after experiencing the ephemera sect turmoil and traveling the Nine Nether Road, her perspective had changed drastically. Facing Guan's boasting, she found it amusing while also feeling gratified. Seeing him living well made her happy. After Guan finished speaking, he carried some hot tea to the table. As he sat down, he poured tea while asking, "And you? Can you share a bit?" Jiang Qiong smiled and said, "I offended a significant figure and have to hide in the 8 scenic caves for a while. Are you sure you want to know?" Upon hearing this, Guan immediately shook his head and said, "Then forget it. If you need to hide, just hide. I certainly won't betray you." In the past, Jiang Qiong had taught him many things, and the 8 scenic caves belonged to her, so sheltering her was only natural. More importantly, Guan already knew who was hunting Jiang Qiong. Before going to the Ancient Sky sect, Guan detected Jiang Qiong's presence during a divine sense probe. He accepted the sect hierarch token from the ephemera sect to give it to Jiang Qiong later. Just in time, Jiang Qiong had ambitions. 2 great cultivators in the Void Crossing realm were chasing Jiang Qiong, but they had lost her trail and were now wandering in the Great Yu dynasty. Hearing Guan's words, Jiang Qiong smiled, raised her hand and produced a white jade bottle. She said, "The spirit juice inside is good stuff. Drink a mouthful each month, no more, to avoid chi blood disruption. This juice can enhance your root bone quality." "How can I take this?" "You should keep it for yourself. I've already consumed a lot. This is the leftover and it no longer benefits me. You keep it, no refusals." With a stern face, Jiang Qiong said this. Hearing her words, Guan had no option but to accept. After chatting for an hour, they moved to the 8 scenic caves. Guan revealed that the green vine tree had developed spiritual wisdom, but Jiang Qiong was nonchalant, stating that the green vine tree in the Thousand Autumn Pavilion also had spiritual intelligence. Earlier, while in the pavilion, Guan had already messaged the green vine tree, instructing it on what could be said and what should be kept secret. Back in the 8 scenic caves, Jiang Qiong sensed the spiritual energy was denser than before, making her very pleased with Guan. "Disciple, the Thousand Autumn Pavilion has disbanded, and my kin have all perished. From now on I will depend on you. You won't mind, will you?" Jiang Qiong rested her hand on Guan's shoulder with a smile. Guan stepped to the side and said, "Why would I mind? I even want to learn formations from you." He then went to the green vine tree and dug out the divine power collection of the Ji family, handing it to Jiang Qiong. Jiang Qiong had robbed this item during a banquet at the Ji family. It recorded the Heaven and Earth Path Gang divine skills. Guan had already mastered the Heaven and Earth Path Gang and upgraded it to Taoist Gang primal energy. Now, even if caught off guard, it would be hard for enemies of the same rank to kill him instantly. The Taoist Gang primal energy could autonomously protect his body. Looking at the divine power collection in her hands, Jiang Qiong felt mixed emotions. For some reason, her mood was quite complicated. Seeing her expression, Guan felt uneasy. "Don't tell me she's moved?" He immediately found an excuse and left. Watching his departing figure, Jiang Qiong sighed and thought, "This kid is really foolish. He didn't even research it thoroughly." She could sense that the restriction on the divine power collection was intact, so she assumed Guan hadn't touched it. Such foolishness would surely lead to trouble someday. She needed to teach him. Jiang Qiong's return didn't change Guian's life. Every 7 days he would visit the 8 scenic caves, bringing along various medicinal herbs for her, asking her not to pick any, leaving that task to him. Jiang Qiong, aware of his habits, behaved accordingly upon returning to the 8 scenic caves. Since Guan had prepared the herbs, why should she bother? Due to Ancestor Quzong's death, the atmosphere in the Supreme Sect was colder than in previous winters. At the year's end, a major event occurred. The Hanlu dynasty surrendered. Thus, the Taizong dynasty annexed the Hanlu dynasty, breaking the millennial 9 dynasty balance. Li Xuando's prestige soared, with even the outer sect of the Supreme Sect discussing him. If he truly united the world, his name would be engraved in history. Guan heard in the outer sect that Li Xiandao had begun deploying troops against the Wuxian dynasty. This time there were no public objections but rather praises for Li Xiandao. Rumor had it that the Tianwei dynasty in the distant land also waged war, with the current emperor harboring ambitions no less than Li Xuando's. Significantly, Ancestor Xingyan's death hadn't spread, and Tianwei made no inquiries with the Supreme Sect about Xizong's death, clearly determined to swallow this loss. These matters were irrelevant to Guan. He simply listened for entertainment. With the new year, Yilan and Zhen Qin came to spend the festival with Guan. Guan divided the spirit juice given by Jiang Qiong into 3 portions, giving them to Yilan, Zhen Qin and Xiaochuan individually, asking them not to tell anyone. Right after the spring festival, the Supreme Sect began recruiting disciples to explore the demon land. Facing the inevitable calamity, the Supreme Sect didn't want to sit idle, so they offered generous rewards to attract disciples for reconnaissance. Some disciples nearing their lives' end or faced with cultivation obstacles eagerly applied, but Guan instructed Yilan and Zhen Qin not to participate. Thankfully they listened. In the following years, news about demons frequently reached the Supreme Sect. Demons increased across the 9 dynasties, clearly a precursor to the demon calamity. Time flew like a white steed's shadow passing a crevice. 2 years later, during late autumn, in a mountain forest under the night sky, Dixia walked. He stopped as black crows flew out from the darkness ahead. These crows swept past Dixia, settled on a large tree behind him, and coalesced into a figure, dark and eerie with no clear features. "The Emperor is looking for you. Won't you return?" the mysterious figure asked. "What for? Isn't the southward movement inevitable?" Dixia's tone was full of sarcasm. "Why do you resist the Emperor's plan?" the mysterious figure asked in a deep voice. Dixia mocked, "This world isn't big enough? Even in the demon lands, there are countless hills beyond his control. Why push humanity to extinction?" The mysterious figure snorted, "Demons and humans cannot coexist. Eradicating humans is the only way to ensure our safety. But humans exist overseas. When will the killing end? I think he's been influenced by the demon master." "Don't speak ill of the demon master. Anyway, I want return. He'll train at the Supreme Sect. Don't seek me out again. If Sword Venerable Fudao discovers you, even if you die, I won't lift a finger." With these words, Dixia left. The mysterious figure coldly said, "Sword Venerable Fudao? Ancestor Kusong of the Supreme Sect died by my hand. If I encounter Sword Venerable Fudao, I'll ensure he meets the same fate, boiled into broth." Dixia continued without turning back and disappeared into the darkness. The mysterious figure snorted, then transformed into black crows and flew north. The crows flew swiftly, leaving the Taizong dynasty behind in no time. An hour later, they flew over the North Sea mountain and arrived at the forest of the Taichin dynasty. The crows landed by a small river, reformed into a figure. This time he showed his true form, a crow-headed humanoid covered in black feathers, wings folding back as he squatted and plunged his hands into the river water. The night was chilly and the river's surface glimmered. But a hand suddenly pressed on his shoulder, freezing his expression. Chapter 159 Demon Clan's Momentum. Taoist Lord. Since Ancestor Kusong perished, with the demon calamity approaching, Guan used his divine sense every night to inspect the lands of the 9 dynasties, to prevent enemies from sneaking in. That night, he happened to see Dixia leaving the Supreme Sect, so he used his divine sense to follow, and then saw Dixia meeting a demon. When Guan heard the demon say it was he who killed Ancestor Kusong, Guan was filled with killing intent. He must avenge Ancestor Kusong. After all, Ancestor Kusong counted as an ancient friend of Guan. He didn't make a move directly but waited until the demon left the Taizong dynasty before acting. The Black Crow demon envoy stopped by the riverside, intending to rest and infuse his demonic power into the river, marking this land through the water. Before his demonic power could probe into the river, a hand fell on his shoulder. He had never experienced such a thing. Even in the demon land, no demon could approach him silently. He instinctively wanted to evade, but an unimaginable pressure pinned him down, rendering him immobile. Terror showed on his crow-like face. He glanced sideways, barely seeing a shadowy figure. Guan originally wanted to mock him, but seeing he was already scared half to death, it felt pointless. He then used his divine sense to assault his soul. Soul-capturing skill. The night was silent, with only the faint sound of flowing river water echoing. The moon set, the sun rose, the brilliant sun climbed from behind the eastern mountains, its rays piercing the sky, shining on Guan and the Black Crow demon. Under the sunlight, Guan, exhibiting his 9 extremes yin-yang body, appeared ghostly, while the Black Crow demon in front of him had turned white-eyed, his body twitching slightly. After 2 full hours, Guan retracted his divine sense, then removed the storage bag and storage ring from the Black Crow demon, and used Taiching True Fire to burn his flesh body. A few heartbeats later, the Black Crow demon perished, his soul disintegrated, leaving only the demon core and mystic heart, which Guan collected into his storage bag. You successfully seized 380 years of lifespan from the Black Crow demon envoy, 8th layer of Mystic Heart Realm. Guan then disappeared from the scene. At noon in the 3rd Medicine Valley. Guan walked down from the transmission array platform, heading towards the distant gardens. Along the way, the servant disciples he encountered greeted him warmly and saluted him. Now, the number of servant disciples in the 3rd Medicine Valley had reached 400. Guan did not overly covet natural treasures, and together with earnest planting, the production of medicinal herbs in the 3rd Medicine Valley was very impressive. Even compared to the inner sect's Medicine Valley, the 3rd Medicine Valley's harvest handed over to the sect each year ranked in the top 3. Thanks to this achievement, the sect was increasingly satisfied with him, continuously assigning more servant disciples. Along the way, Guan spotted an XN who was sweeping the ground. He immediately waved his hand, beckoning her to come over. Upon seeing this, an XN quickly walked over and saluted upon reaching him. Having stayed in the 3rd Medicine Valley for so many years, an XN had successfully entered the Foundation Establishment realm, thanks to the elixirs secretly given by Guan. She was very grateful to Guan. Back then, both an Hao and an Xian apprenticed under Guan simultaneously for cultivation. Now, an Hao had reached the 3rd layer of the nascent soul realm, while an Xian was only at the 1st layer of the Foundation Establishment realm. Even Guan couldn't help but sigh at the unfairness of the heavens. "Accompany me for a walk," Guan said. An Xian naturally had no objections and followed him step by step. During the harvest, Guan occasionally explained to her how to cultivate high-ranked medicinal herbs, and she listened attentively. Nowadays she was also very interested in medicinal herb cultivation. After about an hour, Guan took out a secret book and handed it to an Xian. "This skill can hopefully enhance your aptitude, don't let anyone discover it," Guan whispered, then glanced warily into the distance. Receiving the secret book, an Xian immediately beamed and said, "Thank you, master." After so many years she had completely trusted Guan, referring to him as master, just like other servant disciples, but differently compared to others. In her heart, Guan had become her true master, second only to the mysterious master who once saved her. Guan patted her head, gesturing for her to continue her work. An Xian immediately saluted and turned to leave. Watching her back, Guan wore a smile on his face. He hoped that the primordial reincarnation skill could help an Xian. Even if it didn't transform her, just letting her live a few more years would be a good thing. Life in the 3rd Medicine Valley was not dull. Guan had already built a book collection hall, a tavern, and even bought some equipment for the loft area for the disciples to enjoy. He also created chess, which became popular in the 3rd Medicine Valley. After that, Guan flew towards the inner sect city, having just avenged ancestor Kusong. He wanted to chat with Elder Su Lu of the inner sect's book collection hall. Of course he wouldn't tell Su Lu what happened this morning. He simply wanted to talk with Su Lu. He saw the tragic end of ancestor Kusong in the memories of the Black Crow demon envoy, which made him feel depressed. At Heavenly Phoenix Mountain in Yanchu Cave, Tian Yaoer was curiously watching Guan plant a tree. The tree was already 2 zhang tall, its leaves crimson with long vines growing from it, making it look like a tree ablaze with flames. This was a 7th-tier spirit tree, the sun-nurturing tree, which Guan had moved from the Starmaster Cave. It was considered a sapling, for the sun-nurturing trees in the Star Master Cave were 1,000 zhang tall, bearing sun-nurturing fruits that could enhance qi and blood, and even the perception of fire attributed spiritual energy. After finishing the planting, Guwen satisfactorily inspected the sun-nurturing tree. He turned and patted Tian Yaoer's forehead, snapping her out of her daze. "Come, I'll teach you a demon spell." Upon hearing Guwen's words, Tian Yaoer immediately became excited and hurriedly followed him. Guwen had obtained many spells and cultivation techniques from the memories of the Black Crow Demon Envoy. He intended to teach Tian Yaoer the Black Crow Demon Envoy spell to transform into a flock of black crows. It had to be said Tian Yaoer's aptitude and comprehension were very high. After an hour she could already transform into several fire crows. That's right, fire crows, not black crows. Flame-imbued crows made Guwen suspect even more that she had the phoenix bloodline. The most important aspect of this spell was not the transformation, but the flight speed. Tian Yaoer would need to spend a lot of time to master it fully. Watching her practice the spell, Guwen's thoughts wandered. Demon Emperors, Demon Masters, 72 routes of Great Demon Kings, and the soon-to-be-revived Demon Ancestor. Even Guwen, who had reached the 9th layer of the Nirvana realm, felt the pressure. The lowest cultivation level of the 72 routes of Great Demon Kings was the Mystic Heart realm, with the top 3 Great Demon Kings having stepped into the Mahayana realm. This was why the Ephemera sect did not dare to set foot in the demon land. And the reason the demon clan did not head south was not out of fear of the 9 dynasties but rather waiting for the revival of the demon ancestor, who would need a large amount of flesh and blood to restore his body. The people of the 9 dynasties were the food designated by the demon emperor. Of course, there were also mysterious great cultivators protecting the 9 dynasties. 2,000 years ago, a mysterious Mahayana cultivator heavily injured the demon emperor during his southern invasion, nearly causing his death. However, that great cultivator had already headed south across the sea, a fact discovered by the Black Crow Demon Envoy subordinates, who then informed the demon emperor. That great cultivator came from the great Jiang dynasty's Zhangtian sect, known as the Taoist Lord. Whether he was still alive after 2,000 years remained unknown. The great Jiang dynasty was the strongest dynasty among the 9. Although the world was now in chaos, the great Jiang dynasty remained stable, and the Zhangtian sect solidified its position as the leading faction in the world by opposing the Ephemera sect. The demon land was vast and boundless. Besides the openly acknowledged great demon kings who knew what else was hidden there. This made Guwen more eager to reach a lifespan of 10 million years. If possible, he didn't want to escape. He wished to continue living on this land with the supreme sect. The death of the Black Crow Demon Envoy did not cause any impact. Xie still spent his days at the heavenly repair platform comprehending sword intent. However, as time passed, demons kept increasing all over the world, causing great suffering to the common people, and the supreme sect issued more missions to eliminate demons. Even Yi Lan and Zhen Qin had to join the efforts. Since their missions were within the supreme sect, Guwen was at ease. 2 years flew by in the blink of an eye. Guwen's lifespan reached over 7.4 million years, getting closer to the 10 million mark. He used his divine sense to investigate the demon land daily. Should the demon calamity arrive prematurely, he would choose to break through early. He had already decided the location for his breakthrough. He would break through above the Southern Ocean. That day, and Hao and Si Yenner left the Starmaster Cave. As they walked out of the mountain wall, they turned back, watching the cave entrance gradually disappear. "Where is your master? I haven't seen him all these years," Si Yenner asked curiously. And Hao replied, "The old man is elusive, I don't know where he is either. But one thing is certain, if I encounter danger, he won't stand by and do nothing." Hearing this, he showed a pleased expression. Si Yenner pursed her lips, wanting to mock him, but she held back. She couldn't forget the scene when Guwen obliterated the Mystic Heart realm with a flick of his sleeve. Such a great cultivator Tianwei could not afford to offend. Just then, a figure leaped out of the forest, landing swiftly in front of the two. And Hao frowned, thinking it was an ambush and prepared to fight. The newcomer was a man in Tianwei's official attire. He raised his hand in salute and said, "Your Highness, I have come under the Emperor's orders to escort you. His Majesty plans to marry you to an Hao, the top scholar on the golden list." Upon hearing this, Si Yenner's face turned pale and she angrily asked, "Is father insane? How can he marry me to this kind of person?" And Hao originally wanted to refuse, but hearing this, he immediately retorted displeasedly, What kind of person am I? Do you think I'm not worthy of you? Then I must marry you." The two began arguing. Meanwhile, the official attire man maintained his smile, watching their argument. Far away in the Supreme Sect's mystic valley, Guan was observing them. He had no objections to Hao and Si Yener marrying because he had long seen the budding feelings between the two. However, he remained wary of Tianwei. Should Tianwei attempt to scheme against Hao, he wouldn't be lenient. It would be an excuse for the Taizong dynasty to annex Tianwei's territory. After the trio set off, Guan closed the Taoist Xuanchuan. Someone was approaching Mystic Valley. He stood up, exited the house and went downstairs. After an hour, Du Yi flew his sword into Mystic Valley. From a distance he saw Guan and waved in greeting. The valley disciples, seeing him acquainted with Guan, did not stop him. Du Yi landed, stowing his flying sword into his storage bag, then dragged Guan to a secluded place. The family sent a message: they're planning to move out of the Supreme Sect. The third miss specifically asked to bring you and me, Du Yi whispered, his expression exuberant, feeling honored that the Ji family hadn't forgotten him. Chapter 160. You are not strong enough. Relocate from Supreme Sect? Guan was stunned. He didn't expect that Du Yi had come to him regarding this matter. How could he leave Supreme Sect? His foundation was still here. Moreover, where could the Ji family go if they left Supreme Sect? Guan frowned and asked, why do they want to relocate? Du Yi replied, it seems to be related to the demonic calamity. The family has already found a place to avoid the calamity. No matter what, the family is willing to take both of us. We should be grateful. Get prepared. The exact time of departure hasn't been decided yet, but when it's time to leave, don't delay. Guan shook his head and said, I can't leave. Tell the family thank you for your kind intention, but I plan to stay and live or die with Supreme Sect. As soon as he said this, Du Yi was stunned, his brows immediately knitted tightly. He said in a deep voice, Guan, don't forget where you and I come from. Sorry, the Ji family's nurturing grace, I've repaid over the years with medicinal herbs. But the kindness of Supreme Sect I still can't repay. I can't leave. You go ahead. I will stay. Guan said seriously. Du Yi was furious, wanting to teach Guan a lesson, but he was afraid that other servant disciples would hear. There's still time. Think it over. When the demons invade Taizong dynasty, you won't be able to hide even if you want to. Du Yi threw down those words and left in a huff. He came quickly and left quickly, but when he departed, there was no smile on his face. Despite Du Yi's anger, Guan felt warm inside. At least it showed that Du Yi cared about him. Otherwise he wouldn't bother about his life or death. However, he really couldn't leave Supreme Sect. If Supreme Sect couldn't survive the demonic calamity, it wouldn't be too late for him to escape then. With Guan's cultivation level, if he really wanted to escape, who could stop him? It wasn't until nightfall that Guan entered the 8 scenic caves. Jiang Qiong was meditating under the green vine tree, training. In front of her stood a great cauldron, with the fire under the cauldron still burning. Feeling Guan's presence, Jiang Qiong asked nonchalantly, why are you here? Didn't you come just a couple of days ago? Guan approached the great cauldron, looking at the medicinal soup inside as he said, today someone from the Ji family came to see me. They said they're preparing to withdraw from Supreme Sect and told me to get ready. Hearing this, Jiang Qiong opened her eyes, her beautiful brows furrowing. She asked, are you going to leave? If Guan were to leave, a new disciple from Supreme Sect would surely take over Mystic Valley, which wouldn't be good for her. There was also a trace of unexplainable annoyance in her heart. I'm not leaving. I refused. I'm just puzzled about where the Ji family can go to avoid the demonic calamity, Guan sighed. He had come to ask Jiang Qiong about this, thinking she might know. Jiang Qiong sneered, they must be hiding in the 7-star spirit realm. That 7-star spirit realm is a holy land, even demons dare not invade it. I heard that the Ji family plans to marry Ji Xiaoyu to a genius in the 7-star spirit realm. It seems to be true, the Ji family has indeed climbed high. So it was the 7-star spirit realm. Guan looked at Jiang Qiong and asked with a frown, is the 7-star spirit realm very powerful? Of course it is powerful. On this land, dynasties change and races constantly engage in wars, but only the 7-star spirit realm has always existed. You tell me, are they powerful? In a sense, the 7-star spirit realm is the true ruler of this land. Those who pursued me were cultivators from the 7-star spirit realm because I got to the opportunity they wanted first, Jiang Qiong sneered. Listening to her, Guan wanted to say that if she, a nascent soul cultivator, could snatch opportunities from the cultivators of the 7-star spirit realm, then it showed that the 7-star spirit realm wasn't that powerful. Jiang Qiong seemed to see through his thoughts and said, "The foundation of the 7-star spirit realm is very strong. It should have a great heaven and earth no less vast than the 9 dynasties. The families inside are numerous and their disciples are many. The ones I encountered on the 9 Nether Road were a group of young disciples out on a training mission. Those guys were all under 100 years old but had nascent soul cultivation. The 7-star spirit realm is indeed terrifying." She showed a look of awe. Even though she was hunted by them, she had no thought of revenge because the difference in strength was too great. A great heaven and earth no less vast than the 9 dynasties? Guan grew more curious about the 7-star spirit realm. No wonder the 7-star spirit realm didn't intervene in the racial conflicts on the mainland. Even if the human race on the ground was wiped out, there would still be a continuation of human lineage. Later, Guan asked a few more questions. Jiang Qiong told him everything she knew. The more he learned, the more apprehensive he became of the 7-star spirit realm. His intuition told him that after the demonic calamity, the 7-star spirit realm might cause the next disaster. But Guan wasn't anxious. His strategy was to act only when he was absolutely sure. If he could fight, he would fight. If not, he'd retreat and live to fight another day. Your third miss is engaged to the 7-star spirit realm. Are you happy or unhappy? Jiang Qiong suddenly asked teasingly. Guan casually replied, "Third miss is a girl of heavenly pride. Naturally, she would marry a boy of heavenly pride. I'd certainly be happy for her." "Really? Not a bit of regret in your heart?" Jiang Qiong asked with a smile. Guan raised his eyebrows and shrugged, saying, "Indeed I have regrets. Actually, I admire the 3rd Mississippi. But alas, my talent is mediocre and I don't qualify to pursue her. Since I cannot have her, I can only console myself by wishing her well." Jiang Qiong's smile faded. She snorted coldly and said, "You do see it clearly. Correct? If status and talent don't match, affection will only harm you. Keep it up. Don't let your heart be easily moved again." Guan nodded and said, "I don't need to be moved. There are plenty of female disciples in the valley." "Oh? Is that why you don't like to cultivate?" "I mean, if I want to find a Taoist friend, it's not hard, but I don't want to." "That sounds better. Martial Master has lived longer than you and Taoist friends are unreliable. How many Taoist friends abandon each other in moments of life and death? How many schemed against their partners for personal gain? Martial Master hopes you won't have feelings for anyone lightly. Be more cautious. Martial Master is looking out for you." "Did you ever have a Taoist friend?" "If I did, I would have died long ago." Jiang Qiong began to preach earnestly to Guan. Guan, in return, asked questions sarcastically. After more than an ancient hour, Guan finally left. Watching Guanis retreating back, Jiang Qiong thought to herself, "This lad didn't even call me Martial Master. His mind is a bit wild." The tail end of summer eventually slipped away, and another autumn arrived. Guan came to Qinya Valley and noticed that there was one more person in the valley. Since LV Xian and Yi Luyan left, the valley only had Luo Han and 3 monkey demons for company. Because of this, Guan brought lots of books for Luo Han, even a chess set. Actually, even without these, Luo Han wouldn't feel bored, since he was a cultivator. But because Guan brought them, it was easier for him to get distracted. He often cursed Guan for being sinister, but he couldn't refuse, as Taoist Zunshan's writings were indeed compelling. Guan walked down from the hillside, looking at the figure standing in front of the wooden fence from afar. Jiruolai, Nascent Soul Realm, 8th floor 96/700/3900 Jiruolai? Guan raised his eyebrows. He had heard of this name. He was Ji Xiaoyu's biological elder brother, taken to the main family for training when he was young. Guan had never met him, only heard about him from other house servants. He didn't expect that Li Xiandao had even roped in Ji Xiaoyu's brother. Luo Han descended from the sky, landing beside Guan. He introduced Ji Rolai to Guan and asked, "You've heard of him, right? After all, you also come from the Ji family." Guan nodded. The two approached Ji Rolai from behind. Ji Rolai stared at the flowers and plants in the park, lost in thought. When Luo Han called out to him, he snapped out of it. He turned to look at Guan and Luo Han and said, "So this is the Valley Master, Guan?" Guan raised his hand in greeting and said, "Greetings, second young master." Ji Rolai waved his hand and said, "Here, I must address you as Valley Master. His Majesty set him to assist you." The talents who came to Qinya Valley had to assist Guan, Yet they could freely ask for any herbs in the valley, so Ji-Rolai was friendly to Guan. But Guan didn't need their assistance. He preferred to give them a small favor instead. Second young master, feel free to focus on your cultivation. The trivial matters of the valley are handled by Sunda and the others, Guan said softly with a smile. Ji-Rolai nodded and then started a casual conversation with him. He noticed a strange cold aura in Ji-Rolai's body, which surrounded his golden core. After chatting for a while, Guan excused himself as he needed to pick medicinal herbs. Ji-Rolai watched Guan's departing figure, deep in thought. Luo Hun caught up with Guan and whispered, "Did you find the supreme secret records I asked you to look for?" Guan reluctantly refrained from rolling his eyes and whispered back, "No, that book has already disappeared without a trace. Forget about it. Isn't Taoist Zunshan's works and Green Hero travel enough for you?" Luo Hun could only sigh regretfully and then left. Guan shook his head, smiling. He wondered where Luo Hun had heard about it, knowing even about the supreme secret records, and asked Guan to buy it. Guan feared it might lead Luo Hun astray, affecting his training, so he didn't help him buy it. It was all Shenzhen's fault for corrupting the ethos of the immortal cultivation world. Late at night in a dilapidated temple. But a man in plain clothes fell to the ground, his right foot twitching a few times before he completely stopped breathing. Standing beside him was a man in black, Su Han. Su Han had just absorbed the spiritual power of the plain-clothed man. He was cultivating energy with both hands, trying to harmonize it. From his tightly knit brows, it was evident that he was in discomfort. There were 4 other corpses beside him, both male and female, all dead. A gust of ghostly air entered through a hole in the roof, forming the figure of the ghost mother of Ephemera. Under the moonlight, the ghost mother of Ephemera's pale face looked eerily terrifying. She stood aside watching Su Han. For a long time. Su Han opened his eyes, exhaling a breath of murky air. The ghost mother of Ephemera began, "I've already leaked your whereabouts. In no more than 7 days many cultivators will come to hunt you down. I will have the 9 Nether 13 evil intercept the great cultivators. Seize this chance and don't let anyone escape." Su Han nodded, then asked, "Ghost Mother, why are so many people seeking their own death when I have no grudge against them?" The ghost mother of Ephemera replied calmly, "Some want to kill you to make a name for themselves. Some want to kill you to claim the sword sex bounty. The fundamental reason they pursue you is that you're not strong enough. They think they can kill you." Chapter 161, The Mahayana Demon Attacks the Only Way Out. Hearing the words of the ghost mother of Ephemera, Su Han remained silent. He did not refute her because he also felt that he was weak. Along the way he had narrowly escaped death many times, relying not on his own strength. Su Han was very clear that he was just a pawn. Like the ghost mother of Ephemera in front of him who was helping him wholeheartedly, she must have had her own motives. But he had no other choice. The time left for you is running out. The demon calamity is approaching. The defying fate divine skill can only absorb the spiritual power of cultivators, not demonic power. When the demon calamity descends, if you're unwilling to abandon your principles, it will be tough for you to become stronger, as every cultivator will be busy resisting the demons, said the ghost mother of Ephemera. Upon hearing this, Su Han asked, "Are you in a hurry? What do you ultimately want me to do?" The ghost mother of Ephemera answered, "That depends on how strong you can become. It's not me who should be in a hurry but you. Since the day you began cultivating the hateful heaven divine sword, your lifespan has been limited. No matter how high a realm you reach, your lifespan will not increase unless you can reach the legendary immortal realm." Su Han frowned. The ghost mother of Ephemera had mentioned the drawbacks of the hateful heaven divine sword more than once. It seemed like a reminder for his own good, but he felt threatened and oppressed. "I will do my best," Su Han said, and then sat down to meditate, beginning his cultivation. The ghost mother of Ephemera watched him for a while, then transformed into a wisp of ghostly energy and dissipated. Su Han looked up, gazing at the full moon outside. For some reason he suddenly felt an immense sorrow and confusion. It seemed no one in the world remembered him anymore. Winter snow arrived, covering the third medicine valley in a vast expanse of white, making everything look desolate. Guwen stood on the balcony, appreciating the snowy scenery while thinking about the next volume of Shattering Void. Shattering Void had become incredibly popular, and its popularity far exceeded Guwen's expectations. The first 5 volumes alone had outsold the entire series of Supreme Immortal Venerable. The essence of Shattering Void was the same as Supreme Immortal Venerable, a feel-good story. But the theme of Shattering Void resonated deeply with the current mindset of cultivators across the world. With the demon calamity looming, various sects continued to send disciples out to gather information. As more intelligence came in, the whole immortal cultivation world grew increasingly oppressive. More and more people felt they were at the end of their path in cultivation. If only they could shatter the void and escape, how wonderful that would be. In the distance, a white spirit rat scampered across the snow, with Xiaochuan chasing behind it. Not only did he fail to catch it, but the white spirit rat also kicked snow into his face, amusing Guan greatly. It was hard to tell what charm this plump rat had that Xiaochuan liked it so much. Lu Lingjun walked to Guan's building, looked up at him and said, "Valley Master, have you felt anything?" Guan lowered his eyes and asked, "Cold?" "Indeed, you could say that. There is a powerful demonic energy coming from the north. Could it be a sign that the demon calamity is about to arrive?" Lu Lingjun replied, her gaze also shifting to the north. Guan had actually sensed it long ago. A powerful demon at the Mahayana realm was moving south and was almost at the territory of the 8 dynasties. He did not intervene. He wanted to see if there were any hidden experts in the territory of the 8 dynasties. When the demon calamity erupted, he couldn't rely on his strength alone to turn the tide. Apart from the danger, doing so would draw too much hatred, making it easy for the 7-star spirit realm to target him. Although Guan's divine sense could cover the 9 dynasties' territory, the world was vast, and some people always managed to hide, like the Starmaster Cave, which he hadn't discovered with his divine sense before. Guan asked, "If the demon calamity descends, what will you do?" Lu Lingjun replied, "Naturally, I will fight alongside the Supreme Sect, but if we are overpowered and see no hope, I will head south to seek an immortal fate." Having ascended for so many years, she had a deep understanding of this world. Since ancient times, when great cultivators hit bottlenecks, they would venture south. Even though the seas were more perilous than the demon lands, there were still those who pressed on without hesitation. As an ascender, Lu Lingjun naturally would not perish with the Supreme Sect. Guan nodded slightly, not making any comment. Lu Lingjun looked at Guan and asked, "What about you, Valley Master?" Guan feigned hesitation and said, "I will diligently plant medicinal herbs and contribute my strength. If the Supreme Sect were to fall, then I would take my own life to avoid being devoured by demons." Hearing this, Lu Lingjun rolled her eyes at Guan, thinking he was hopeless. Guan chuckled and didn't continue the topic to prevent panic among the other servant disciples. However, how would the immortal cultivation world deal with the impending Mahayana realm demon? The snow kept falling incessantly as if it wanted to bury the world. Night fell. Guan arrived at Nianshu Cave in Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. As soon as he entered, he saw Tian Yaoer crouching by the medicine cauldron, warming herself by the fire, hugging her knees, shivering, even burying her head. Guan walked towards Tian Yaoer, deliberately making footstep sounds, causing Tian Yaoer to lift her head. Seeing Guan, she immediately beamed and rushed towards him, hugging him. "What's the matter with you?" Seeing that she was really frightened, Guan did not push her away but asked concernedly. Tian Yaoer buried her head in Guan's chest and whispered, "I'm scared. It feels like something terrifying is approaching." She clung tightly to Guan's waist, afraid he would leave. Guan patted her shoulder and comforted her, saying, "Don't be afraid. That creature isn't heading towards Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. It's far away from us." Upon hearing this, Tian Yaoer looked up and cautiously asked, "Really? Really? Besides, haven't I come to stay with you? But you can't even defeat the demon mother. I feel that terrifying presence is even stronger than the demon mother." "Indeed, I can't defeat it, but I will take you along and flee if we have to." "Then don't lie to me. If you are going to leave here, you must take me with you." "I won't lie to you," Guan assured her. If not for his help, Tian Yaoer might have been devoured by demons. She could only rely on him. How could he abandon her? Nonetheless, Tian Yaoer's reaction surprised him somewhat. Being a demon herself, why would she be so scared? He led Tian Yaoer to sit down and asked her to explain why she was so frightened. Unfortunately, Tian Yaoer fumbled for a long time and couldn't articulate it clearly. Based on the Black Crow demon envoy's memories, Guan knew the origin of the powerful demon. 6-headed sea dragon, one of the 72 great demon kings, ruling 10,000 miles, with countless demon soldiers and demon generals under his command, known for his violent nature and infamous reputation. Even the Black Crow demon envoy, when meeting him, tread carefully, fearing being swallowed in one gulp. At this moment, the six-headed sea dragon was leading millions of demons southward, and along the way more demons joined, including demon kings willing to follow him. His overwhelming demonic energy had alarmed the human race's immortal cultivation world. Guan could sense many cultivators heading towards the Eight Dynasties territory, with more than 20 Mystic Heart Realm cultivators among them. Guan comforted Tian Yaoer for a while and she finally calmed down. Surprisingly, she fell asleep on his lap. It seemed he would have to stay here a while longer tonight. Morning. At dawn, a dragon's roar echoed from afar, startling the servant disciples in the Mystic Valley. Chu Jingfeng, meditating on a cliff, opened his eyes and looked towards the sky, his brows furrowed as the snow on his body gradually melted. In the valley, the servant disciples gathered, discussing where the sound came from and what demon had made it. Guan walked into the valley from the endless snow, collected his flying sword, and was immediately surrounded by servant disciples asking about the dragon's roar. I also don't know what demon made it, but you can rest assured staying in the Supreme Sect you won't have to worry. Guan reassured. The current batch of disciples in Mystic Valley was new. Besides Lu Jiujia and Chu Jingfeng, none had experienced various calamities Mystic Valley had faced, so the disciples easily believed Guan's words. In the following days, news continuously arrived at the Supreme Sect. The name of the six-headed sea dragon forcefully entered the eyes of Supreme Sect disciples. A great cultivator of the Mystic Heart Realm had already been devoured by him alive, causing unrest throughout the Supreme Sect. A large number of disciples were dispatched to the north to provide support. Even Gu Zong personally came to the Third Medicine Valley to request Lu Lingjun's assistance. After hesitating, Lu Lingjun decided to step in. Along with her was ancestor Shen Quan. The news of their departure spread across the cities of the Supreme Sect. However, when Guan roamed the Outer Gate City, he found that many people had little hope for the two mystical heart realm cultivators, praying more for their safety. Ancestor Quzong's fall had cast a significant shadow over the Supreme Sect. Guan was also paying attention to the distant battle. Sangtian Sect once again took the lead role, leading by example using the spiritual power of 1,000,000 cultivators to set up a grand formation, creating a barrier against the demon clan's invasion. 14 Mystic Heart Realm cultivators surrounded the six-headed sea dragon, none daring to get close, and the battle turned completely one-sided. However, the six-headed sea dragon showed no interest in entering human territory, merely taunting and issuing various threats and insults, enraging and terrifying the immortal cultivation world. It seemed like the six-headed sea dragon was testing the Eight Dynasties territory. Perhaps fearing the Taoist lord of Sangtian Sect, or possibly wary of the mountain god. Early the next morning, Lu Lingjun and ancestor Shen Quan joined the war. Guan watched throughout to prevent their deaths. Facing the powerful six-headed sea dragon, Lu Lingjun and Shen Quan were soon defeated and fled back to the human territory to recover their injuries. Guan felt that Lu Lingjun was purposely underperforming, intentionally getting injured and then retreating. Perhaps she too believed that fighting to the death was a real possibility of dying. The less the six-headed sea dragon invaded human territory, the more Guan suspected there was a stronger demon behind him. Disia's father, the Demon Emperor. That Demon Emperor ruled over the demons and monsters of the demon land. Perhaps this was a test he arranged. Several days later, Guan arrived at the Outer Gate City, witnessing a complex scene. He saw the vast heavenly repair stone with tens of thousands of disciples meditating on it. Gu Zong even sat under the words righteous path, forcing those meditating on sword enlightenment to leave the platform. Disia had come down. Seeing Guan, he approached and sighed, "The Northern Territory is in crisis. The sect is pleading for Sword Venerable Fudeo's assistance." Guan worriedly asked, "A great cultivator of the Mystic Heart Realm has already fallen. Would relying solely on Sword Venerable Fudao be enough?" Disia sighed, "Maybe not, but what else can we do?" Being a demon himself, he understood the strength of the demon land deeply. With a compassionate tone, he said, "This calamity is inevitable. Perhaps the sea is the only way." Chapter 162 Please Sword Venerable Fudao take action. Guan could only sigh along with Disia when he heard his words. Escape to the ocean? What a joke. Guan didn't know what was on Disia's mind, but he felt that after the extermination of the Eight Dynasties human race, the next to suffer would be the demons. The previous legends had already proven this. When the land was covered by demons, powerful cultivators would come. Using humans to feed demons, using demons to feed humans? By making some adjustments, it wouldn't be fratricide, and the Holy Land would still be revered by both races. Guan chatted with Xia half-heartedly, his eyes never leaving the heavenly repair platform. He was also weighing whether to make a move. After all, he was still quite some time away from the critical point of 1,000,000 years of lifespan. If he broke through now, he would certainly break through to a higher realm, but he wanted to unlock the next lifespan function even more. He feared that his intervention might accelerate the process of the Great Demon Calamity. The Great Jiang Dynasty, here in the northernmost part of the 8 dynasties, was a land of towering mountains and precipitous ridges, full of world-renowned wonders. Backed by the Demon Land, the survival environment for the cultivators of the Great Jiang Dynasty was more difficult, which was why it had produced the strongest dynasty. In the northern territory, where mountains overlapped and heavy snow covered the sky, the majestic snow mist made the mountains appear as the ridges of a true dragon, grand and spectacular, and almost like a wall created by heaven, separating the world into 2 halves. On one of the mountains, Lu Lingjun sat cross-legged on a giant boulder. The spiritual power emanating from her kept the surrounding snow mist at bay, forming wisps of white smoke rising into the air. She slowly opened her eyes, gazing towards the horizon. In the front, the mountains still undulated, and there was a faint firelight at the end of the world, which the flying snow could not completely obscure. Strong winds occasionally blew towards Lu Lingjun. The terrifying demon energy of the 6-headed sea dragon enveloped the entire world, making even Lu Lingjun and the White Spirit Demon Emperor on her shoulder uneasy. "What is he waiting for?" the White Spirit Demon Emperor asked in a low voice. Lu Lingjun remained calm and replied, "It might have something to do with the mountain god. After all, a Mahayana cultivator died at the hands of the mountain god. Will the mountain god take action? There are many more demons in the north. This calamity is far beyond what the ephemera sect can compare to. No matter how you look at it, the human race is doomed," the White Spirit Demon Emperor muttered. As a demon itself, it naturally would not side with the human race. It hoped Lu Lingjun would leave this troubled place. Lu Lingjun remained silent, looking into the distance, her thoughts unknown. The White Spirit Demon Emperor couldn't help but urge, "Lingjun, why not head south? Perhaps the ocean isn't as dangerous." Lu Lingjun wistfully said, "Do you remember when the Supreme Sect's cultivators protected me during my breakthrough?" Upon hearing this, the White Spirit Demon Emperor opened its mouth but finally said nothing. It understood Lu Lingjun too well. If Lu Lingjun wasn't so sentimental, would it have followed her? The White Spirit Demon Emperor's snake head lowered and it said sullenly, "Then let's see how powerful the mountain god is. By the way, the Supreme Sect still has a sword, Venerable Fudao. He should take action." Screech, a piercing dragon roar echoed through the sky, snow mixed with a fishy wind rushed forward, and the mountains beneath Lu Lingjun trembled. 10,000 miles away. War was raging, the land was charred, lava flowed among the scorched earth, firelight floated between heaven and earth, and mountains were flattened, leaving behind giant holes in the remaining peaks. Numerous cultivators hovered in the sky, with various grand formations spanning the heavens. The land was divided into 2 by an abyssal rift, with human race cultivators casting spells on one side and demons and ghosts crammed along the cliff edge on the other, their faces twisted in ferocity, their roars and howls turning the land into a hellscape. A terrifying giant demon stood behind the endless hordes of demons, his towering body cloaked in black armor, with sharp fangs on his shoulder guards resembling mountain peaks, and heads hanging from his belt, all of them great demons' heads. His body was humanoid, soaring 1,000 feet high, with his neck reaching into the clouds, and 6 sea dragon heads looming amidst the cloud cover, with pairs of blood-red eyes seemingly peering from the abyss, instilling terror amongst those who saw them. He was the 6-headed sea dragon, a peerless great demon, fearsome across the demon land. On his shoulder was a small figure shrouded in pitch-black demon energy, revealing only a goat head with eyes red like blood beads. "Great King, it appears the human race has no Mahayana cultivators, and that so-called mountain god doesn't dare cause trouble," the goat-headed demon said, its voice reaching the 6-headed sea dragon's ears. Upon hearing this, a terrifying pressure erupted, sending the demons in front fleeing in panic, making way for the 6-headed sea dragon. In the face of the mountain-sized 6-headed sea dragon, most demons were as insignificant as ants. As the 6-headed sea dragon stepped forward, ghostly energy surged, forming countless seductive female ghosts, whose laughter gathering together, caused disorientation among the distant human race cultivators. The six-headed sea dragon is coming. When the six-headed sea dragon crossed that ravine, waves of mystic heart realm auras from the 8 dynasties began rushing towards the northern territory. Not just from the 8 dynasties. Even from the southern ocean, powerful auras emerged. At this moment, Guan felt the deep foundation of the 8 dynasties human race, the accumulation of nearly 10,000 years. Some would seek fortune in the ocean, but many others, even in foreign lands, yearned for their homeland. Guan's left hand touched the double heart ring on his right hand. Even without this ring, he could sense Lu Lingjun's peril. Despite the remote assault, Lu Lingjun was severely wounded. The six-headed sea dragon was overwhelmingly strong, its attacks heaven-shattering, forcing the entire human race to retreat continuously. It's a shame I'm a cripple now, otherwise I would join the fight even if it meant dying on the battlefield, sighed Chu Jingfeng. Guan patted Chu Jingfeng's shoulder saying, "How can you be a cripple? As long as one lives there is hope. You can turn your current frustration into motivation. Maybe one day the Supreme Sect will need you to save it. At that time you will be its hero. I hope to see that day in my lifetime." Chu Jingfeng couldn't help but turn to him and asked, "Do you really think I can do that?" Guan smiled, "Of course. Brother Chu, in my eyes you are a chosen one. What I can't achieve you certainly can." "The chosen one?" Chu Jingfeng, in a daze, looked at Guan's smile, feeling a surge of strength within him. For years, Guan had been encouraging him. If there was even a hint of insincerity, it wouldn't have lasted until today. This meant that Guan genuinely had high hopes for him. "Call for Sword Venerable Fudao to take action." A voice from afar shouted with all its might, followed by a gust of wind and snow rushing towards both of them. Before Chu Jingfeng could speak, another shout rang out from the distance, the voice of tens of thousands of cultivators, in unison resonating, which even the sound of wind and snow couldn't drown out. "Call for Sword Venerable Fudao to take action. Call for Sword Venerable Fudao to take action." The voices grew louder as more people joined in. Chu Jingfeng sighed, "I may not know if I can become a hero in the future, but now, Sword Venerable Fudao is the hero of the Supreme Sect." In the distance, within the outer gate city, on the heavenly repair platform, hundreds of thousands of disciples sat, shouting with all their might. Even the disciples on the streets joined in, pleading for Sword Venerable Fudao to take action. Suddenly Gu Zong, who was shouting, seemed to sense something. He looked down and saw his treasure sword trembling as if wanting to be unsheathed. He took off his sword and so did other disciples. Some even retrieved their swords from their storage bags. On the streets, disciples paused, looking in amazement at the swords at their waists or in their hands. All the swords were trembling, and they felt a mighty sword intent enveloping them. Could it be? The Supreme Sect cultivators' hearts filled with a daring speculation. Chapter 163. Execution of the Great Demon King, the Terrifying Sword Venerable. All the swords and flying swords in the city were trembling, exciting the cultivators immensely. They even raised their swords, holding them aloft. "It's the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao. Sword Venerable Fudao heard our call. This sword intent is indeed from Sword Venerable Fudao. With such vast sword intent, it should be able to contend with the six-headed sea dragon, right? Where is Sword Venerable Fudao? Could he be in the city?" The city was in an uproar. Everyone was very excited. Clang! The sound of swords being drawn suddenly overshadowed the clamor of voices. Countless swords rose into the sky, their tips pointing upwards, all hovering at the same height. There were over 1,000,000 swords, and their light was so dazzling that it even outshone the falling snow. On the heavenly repair platform, Gu Zong stood up, and so did the other disciples, all gazing up at the swords in the sky. Dixie stood on the eaves, looking up at the scene, with an expression of incredulity on the face of this mystic heart realm great demon. Such sword intent, Dixie murmured to himself. Having come to the Supreme Sect for so many years, he had deeply felt the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao. He thought he had overestimated Sword Venerable Fudao, but now he realized the depth of his immeasurable power. Even though he had the third layer of the mystic heart realm cultivation, facing this sword intent made Dixie feel insurmountable. Under the gaze of the entire city, over 1,000,000 swords flew towards the north, sword chi bursting forth, dispersing the falling snow between heaven and earth, unstoppable, disappearing into the horizon in the blink of an eye. The vast sky was cleaved in two, revealing a clear blue sky, a magnificent sight. Gu Zong's hair was blown askew by the strong wind as he looked towards the direction of the departing million swords, a smile appearing on his face, no longer with a frown as before. Six-headed sea dragon, can you withstand the strongest sword of the supreme sect? Great Jiang Dynasty, Northern Territory. Endless cultivators flew towards the north like a rain of arrows, a magnificent sight that scattered the falling snow in the sky. Looking in the direction they were flying thousands of miles away on the demon battlefield, the six-headed sea dragon had already leaped over the bottomless canyon. Countless demonic creatures leaped over the canyon, following him to massacre the territory of the human race. The six-headed sea dragon grasped a great cultivator of the mystic heart realm in his hand. No matter how the cultivator struggled, he couldn't break free from his grasp. Thousands of feet away, numerous great cultivators of the mystic heart realm kept casting spells, but unfortunately, their spells and divine skills did not cause any harm to the six-headed sea dragon, not even breaking through his armor. Rocks fell like a meteor shower, striking the demonic army, yet the six-headed sea dragon had no intention of protecting his subordinates. As he advanced, he threw the great cultivator of the mystic heart realm in his hand into his mouth, chewing as his six heads twisted around, scanning in all directions. Occasionally he would grab almost dead demons from the distance, swallow them in one bite, and blood rained down. Each of his mouths was stained with blood, a horrific sight. His posture was lazy yet dominating. The cultivators of the mystic heart realm felt utterly hopeless. They had never felt so helpless even when facing Butcher Immortal Jing from the Ephemera sect, because Butcher Immortal Jing had died too quickly then, whereas now they truly felt the might of a Mahayana realm being. Lu Lingjun stood on the back of the white spirit demon emperor, her hair disheveled, her right shoulder bleeding profusely, blood bubbling constantly. She looked at the six-headed sea dragon from afar with eyes full of unwillingness. We can't move him at all. If this continues, we could end up in his mouth any time. The white spirit demon emperor said despondently, without any of the bearing of a unification realm being. It now only wanted to flee from this place. Lu Lingjun took a deep breath, knowing that continuing the battle was hopeless and would only lead to pointless sacrifices. She harbored thoughts of retreating, and not just from the battlefield but from this continent altogether. Just then, she seemed to sense something and suddenly turned her head, eyes wide with disbelief. Behind, the world was vast and covered in white. Snow obscured everything, and the snow mist blew towards her with the wind. Not only her, more and more cultivators felt something, all turning their heads to look. Liang Canghai, the master of the Zhangtian sect, blood-covered and disheveled, held a great cauldron in his right hand, emitting tens of thousands of green lights, sweeping across the battlefield. Blood flowers burst wherever the lights swept, but his attacks on the six-headed sea dragon had no effect. He suddenly turned sideways, eyes widened in shock, looking back. The six-headed sea dragon, advancing and feeding simultaneously, also seemed to sense something. All six heads turned forward. His six dragon faces twisted ferociously, roaring forward in unison, the dragon's roar shaking heaven and earth. Countless lower cultivation cultivators and demons bled from the seven orifices, stunned by the roar. The six-headed sea dragon raised his hand, demon energy bursting from his palm, manifesting a giant bone knife out of thin air. He gripped the knife with both hands and slashed forward in fury. As the knife slashed out, demon energy surged like waves, transforming into black dragons that vied to reach the end of the world, sweeping heaven and earth. Any cultivator in the path was turned to ash on impact. Boom, a shocking thunderous sound came from the horizon. Sword light illuminated heaven and earth, and a terrifying sword chi at a speed far surpassing the black dragon's demon energy, came killing from the horizon. Countless cultivators were overtaken by the sword chi along the way. These cultivators only felt heaven and earth brighten suddenly. Next they were enveloped by a mysterious and vast sword intent, their pupils dilating, a multitude of swords surrounded by sword chi passing by them and forcefully entering their field of vision. Lu Lingjun, being of higher cultivation, reacted faster, yet she was still overwhelmed by the countless swords. She didn't dare move, only able to watch the swords rush towards the six-headed sea dragon. Her beautiful eyes widened, full of shock. In merely the blink of an eye, over 1,000,000 swords converged into a gigantic sword chi, fiercely dispersing the black dragon demon energy, rushing headlong towards the six-headed sea dragon. The six-headed sea dragon reacted extremely quickly. After the slash, all 6 heads opened their mouths, spewing torrents of flames like a burning river sweeping the sky. Boom! The flames were shredded, and the massive demon body of the 6-headed sea dragon was hit, forced to retreat repeatedly, flesh flying as if in a torrential downpour. After retreating 7 steps, the 6-headed sea dragon stopped. The million-sword group had already pierced through his demon body, tracing an upward arc in the sky before halting. Countless cultivators and demonic creatures stared, trembling as the demon energy dissipated and the dragon heads fell to the ground, raising clouds of dust. The terrifying demon body of the 6-headed sea dragon was full of bloody holes, densely packed, horrifying. Its life force was completely extinguished. The sword intent of the Taitsong divine shocking sword forcefully eradicated its primordial spirit. A Mahayana demon core hovered among the million swords, the demon core of the 6-headed sea dragon. Silence reigned over the world. Whether cultivators of the human race or demonic creatures, all gaped at the scene in shock. The nearly invincible 6-headed sea dragon died just like that? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The million-sword group began flying towards the Taitsong dynasty, the sound of swords breaking through the air incessantly, shattering the silence. Sword Venerable Fudao. It's our supreme sect's sword Venerable Fudao. A great cultivator shouted in ecstasy. It wasn't just him. Those cultivators who had experienced the sword intent at the heavenly repair platform were all excited, chanting the name of sword Venerable Fudao. Lu Lingjun looked up at the million-sword group resembling a meteor shower, eyes full of complex emotions. The white spirit demon emperor beneath her feet was equally stunned, speechless. Kill! Liang Tsanghai shouted loudly, equally excited. At his command, the cultivators of the Tsangtian sect led the charge against the demonic army. Witnessing the death of the 6-headed sea dragon, the demonic army immediately fell into disarray, fleeing in a panic. The demonic kings leaped up, fleeing back to the demon land at full speed. The vast sword group swept over mountains and lakes, watched by cultivators, commoners and demons alike along the way. Great Jiang Dynasty, Taichin Dynasty, North Sea Mountains. Sage Xin Miao stood on a hillside, watching the sword group flying towards the horizon, confusion in his eyes. Moments before he had seen the million-sword group flying north, and now they had returned so quickly? He watched the million-sword group disappear into the horizon, then stood in place, pondering. During the flight, Guan appeared out of nowhere in the sword group, seized the 6-headed sea dragon's demon core, then vanished. He returned to the Mystic Valley Pavilion, unnoticed, having been gone for 2 breaths' time. He used his divine sense to guide the million-sword group back to the outer city. Drawing on his Nirvana realm memory and insight, he returned each sword to its owner, causing excitement throughout the city. Killing the 6-headed sea dragon granted Guan 800 years of lifespan, far less than what an 8th-rank spirit tree provided. Guan picked up the Taoist Xuanxuan and calmed his thoughts. This intervention could potentially advance the demonic catastrophe. If the demonic catastrophe arrived sooner, he would have no choice but to embark on a mass slaughter to reach a lifespan of 10 million years early. He did not want to slaughter the masses and fall into demonic ways, but for survival he had to lower his principles. In gaining lifespans, Guan constantly worried about excessive killing, forming inner demons or sins. Such occurrences were not uncommon in the immortal cultivation world. Hence, he preferred to extend life through plants whenever possible. Of course, he also feared that too much killing would attract unbeatable enemies. He tried to avoid thinking about these things, wondering instead what abilities would be unlocked with a 10 million year lifespan. In the outer city, Xie watched the ecstatic cultivators on the heavenly repair platform, lost in thought. With his perceptive power, he could sense that the demonic energy of the 6-headed sea dragon had dissipated. How long had it been? Sword Venerable Fudao actually used other swords to successfully slay the 6-headed sea dragon. Xie knew the 6-headed sea dragon. He disliked the 6-headed sea dragon but had to admit its strength, ranking among the top in the 72 great demon kings. Being able to easily kill the 6-headed sea dragon, how strong was Sword Venerable Fudao? Xie suddenly felt that the upcoming war between the two races had an unpredictable outcome. Sword Venerable Fudao might become the greatest obstacle for his father. He was not worried, even a bit expectant. Compared to the atmosphere of the demon clan, he preferred the atmosphere of the supreme sect. At least there was no internal strife. Xie looked into the distance, eyes playful, thinking curiously, "Demon Master, you consider yourself to be extraordinary, thinking you can predict all things in heaven and earth. Could you have foreseen Sword Venerable Fudao? He walked up to the heavenly repair platform, ready to continue observing the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao. He had a premonition that the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao would be his greatest opportunity in this life. Chapter 164. Demon Invasion Hunting Down the Mountain. At the end of the year, Guan arrived at Outer Gate City and noticed that the streets were full of disciples discussing Sword Venerable Fudao's feat of slaying the six-headed sea dragon. Some stalls were even selling six-headed sea dragon dolls, and there were various depictions of the creature, including illustrations of its death. As he looked at those pictures, he inexplicably thought of Shenzhen. Shenzhen was still in seclusion. If she weren't, she might have been inspired by this event as well. Not having seen her for many years, Guan found himself somewhat missing her. He wasn't missing her as a person but rather her creative skills. He didn't want Shenzhen to stop writing as long as she didn't write about him in her next book. Guan started wandering around the city, listening to the disciples praise Sword Venerable Fudao, feeling secretly pleased, and the anxiety he had been unable to shake off gradually diminished. The demons in the northern territory had been swept away, and no great demon king on par with the six-headed sea dragon had appeared. It seemed like everything was moving in a positive direction. However, Guan knew that the great demonic calamity was still approaching. Not only in the northern territory of the Great Jiang dynasty, but demons were also continuously invading human territories from east to west, near the demon land borders, although on a small scale that various sects could not completely stop. Thankfully, the number of demons infiltrating was not yet large enough to shake the foundations of the 8 dynasties, so Guan could still endure. After wandering for a long time, Guan finally headed towards the book collection hall to submit his book. What happened next made Guan laugh and cry. Great Elder Feng Shang hoped Guan could write Sword Venerable Fudao into Shattering Void, and enhance his image. This was the sect's intention. Guan pretended to be in a difficult situation. But then Feng Shang said the sect had prepared 106-tier medicinal herb seeds for him, so he reluctantly agreed. When the new year arrived, Yi Lan and Zhen Qin did not return, making Guan spend the festival with the disciples, feeling that something was missing compared to previous years. This suddenly made him feel a bit uneasy. Years later, if all his old friends had passed away, would New Year's become a sad occasion for him instead of a joyful one? As midnight approached and he arrived at Nianchu Cave, these feelings began to fade. No matter what, Tian Yaoer could at least accompany him for 18,000 years, and if she could undergo nirvana within that time, she'd accompany him even longer. However, he also had to learn to manage his own feelings and understand the nature of the world to achieve enlightenment. Tian Yaoer pouted, feeling a bit disheartened but still listened attentively. She could only see Guan twice a month, so she cherished their time together. After the new year, the name of Sword Venerable Fudao was already spreading across the world. The Supreme Sect wasn't idle either, issuing many demon-slaying tasks, prompting more disciples to descend the mountain to save the common people. Mystic Valley inside a pavilion. Guan was weaving a robe for himself. Normally, he didn't need to meditate or absorb energy, so he had plenty of time to pursue his hobbies, tailoring being one of them. The reason he wanted to weave a robe was that he was preparing to descend the mountain to slay demons and monsters. Partly to help the common people and partly to seize the opportunity to extend his life, striving to reach a lifespan of 10 million years as soon as possible. He also wanted to experience the lives of Yi Lan and Zhen Qin. Finally, Guan finished the robe, stored it in his storage bag, and then took up the Qinghong sword and walked out of the pavilion. He greeted Lu Jiujia and left Mystic Valley. Lu Jiujia wasn't curious about where he was going. After all, he frequently left Mystic Valley, and in the eyes of the disciples in the valley, the master was a busy man. Under the blue sky and white clouds, Guan stood on a cliff, wearing a dark purple robe. A belt cinched his waist, and an embroidered dark red phoenix adorned his robe, with the Qinghong sword sheathed at his waist. He took out an opera mask, put it on, and then placed a bamboo hat on his head. After adjusting himself, he used his divine sense to inspect his appearance. The figure looked good, exuding a compelling aura. Like a wandering hero in martial arts legends. Guan leapt into the forest below, quickly disappearing from sight. Hundreds of miles away, a battle was taking place in the wilds. Several escort vehicles were halted, and over a dozen armed escorts were fighting against attacking demon beasts from all directions. Behind the escort vehicles, there was a carriage with spooked horses neighing incessantly, inside which a mother and son clung to each other tightly. These armed escorts weren't cultivators. They were merely martial artists, no match for the demon beasts. Just as the escorts were about to despair, a strong wind swept through. Following that, a figure rushed out from the nearby forest, moving as swiftly as a hare, wielding a sword like the wind, cutting down one demon beast after another. In less than 3 breaths, all 9 demon beasts were dead. The escorts turned to look and could just barely make out an embroidered dark red phoenix on the figure's back. Before they could speak, the figure quickly disappeared. Amazing. That person must be a cultivator, right? Of course, how could a martial artist have such skills? Incredible, I couldn't even see how he made his moves. Me neither. I wonder which sect that cultivator is from. I tried to apprentice at the ancient sky sect when I was young, but got rejected due to a lack of spirit root. On the other side in the forest, hearing their discussion, Guan's lips curled up slightly under his mask. Saving people like this felt quite good, perhaps even matching the sense of accomplishment from slaying the 6-headed sea dragon. With that, Guan began his journey of hunting demons and monsters. He only killed those demons posing a threat to the common people, ensuring that every act of killing also saved lives. Saving one life could be more meritorious than building a 7-storied pagoda. Would this hold true in this realm? Anyway, Guan felt at peace, killing one demon, saving one person. Good and evil balanced, he shouldn't be burdened with sin. Late at night, a group of cultivators were meditating in the forest, campfires scattered around with 5 or 6 people by each fire. Yilan and Zhenqin were among them. Yilan was meditating, absorbing energy, while Zhenqin was discussing recent demon encounters and events in the immortal cultivation world with nearby disciples. I wonder what the 6-headed sea dragon looked like. I heard it ate 5 Mystic Heart Realm great cultivators alive, Zhenqin said softly, her face full of curiosity and fear. When she mentioned the 6-headed sea dragon, the other disciples instantly became excited, starting to talk about Sword Venerable Fudao. After slaying the 6-headed sea dragon, Sword Venerable Fudao's reputation in the immortal cultivation world had reached its peak. Everyone was curious about how powerful he truly was. No matter how strong the opponent, Sword Venerable Fudao could always kill them effortlessly. As they chatted, they started discussing some of the major happenings in the immortal cultivation world. Recently, Hateful Heaven Divine Sword Suhan absorbed the spiritual power of 20 nascent soul realm cultivators. He is said to be on the verge of entering the divinity transformation realm. What kind of demon skill is he practicing? A male disciple worriedly said. They spent their years slaying demons and monsters outside, so they were concerned about running into Suhan. Listening to their discussion about Suhan, Zhenqin suddenly felt downhearted. What's this? You want to know what cultivation technique Suhan practices? Well, you're in luck tonight, you'll find out. A chilling laugh suddenly echoed through the forest, startling the disciples of the law enforcement hall. They all quickly stood up, with Yilan also rising, drawing the white spirit sword ready for battle. Prepare for battle, Yilan said in a deep voice. The disciples each took out their magic artifacts and quickly gathered together. Looking around, the silent forest under the night sky was so eerie, with mist swirling in the depths, obscuring any figures. Yilan suddenly looked in a direction and frowned. The others did the same, only to see figures emerging from the darkness, carrying a coffin. Chapter 165. 8 million years of lifespan. Looking at the group of black silhouettes carrying a coffin, Yilan furrowed her brows tightly. The other disciples were the same. They couldn't discern the aura of the other party, which made their hearts sink. The newcomers were indeed the 9 Nether 13 evil. Underneath the night sky, they were like 13 ghostly shadows, so terrifying. We are disciples of the law enforcement hall of the Supreme Sect. What do you intend to do? A male disciple shouted in a deep voice. In the Taizong dynasty, as disciples of the Supreme Sect, they still had some confidence. Upon hearing this, the 9 Nether 13 evil were unmoved. Seeing them continually approaching, the disciples of the law enforcement hall had to retreat. All right, don't scare them. Let them leave quickly. A weak voice came from inside the coffin. Zhenqin widened her eyes and couldn't help but shout, Senior Brother Su? Suhan? The disciples of the law enforcement hall were greatly shocked, speeding up their retreat, and Yi Lan's face also became serious. Su Han's name in the world of immortal cultivation was like thunder, but his reputation was of fiendish ferocity. So it's your junior sister. No wonder you want to let them leave. Then hurry up and get lost. A black silhouette said sinisterly. Zhen Qin wanted to speak, but Yi Lan stopped her, and without uttering harsh words, led the disciples away immediately. As they left, Zhen Qin frequently looked back, her gaze falling on the coffin, but unfortunately she couldn't see through it. Just like that, Yi Lan and the others quickly departed. The 9 Nether 13 Evil then put down the coffin, and the coffin lid was opened. Su Han sat up from inside, his hair disheveled, one hand clutching the coffin board. The 9 Nether 13 Evil spread out, setting up formations in all directions. Su Han stared in the direction where Yi Lan, Zhen Qin and others had left, his eyes complex, lost in thought. Thousands of miles away. Above the forest, Guan stood atop a tree watching the scene from afar. He embraced the Qinghong sword, his face concealed by a mask, only his eyes flickering with a ghostly light. After watching for a while, Guan finally turned around and leaped into the mountain forest. Spring arrived, everything revived, the sky over the supreme sect turned blue, dotted with white clouds, and the scenery was delightful. In the third medicine valley, Guan was picking medicinal herbs, an XN following beside him, holding a bamboo basket. In those days, Guan would go out daily to save people and slay demons. Although his lifespan did not increase rapidly, it still increased by several thousand years each day. Mainly he wasn't solely targeting demons. In the process he also experienced the various states of the mortal world. Valley Master, have you any news of my brother? An XN suddenly asked, a question she had held back for a long time. She knew Guan was acquainted with Anhao, especially familiar with Anhao's master, LV Badian. While picking medicinal herbs, Guan replied, I heard that he is in Tianwei and is said to marry the princess of Tianwei. The auspicious date is not yet decided, and he is currently in seclusion cultivating in Tianwei. This matter was not secretive and had already spread within the inner sect. As the first genius of the Supreme Sect, any of Anhao's actions could stir up rumors. The Supreme Sect had already sent elders to discuss the matter. The sect supported Anhao's marriage with the Tianwei imperial family. Hearing this, an XN sighed in relief and asked smilingly, how is the princess of Tianwei in terms of talent and beauty? In terms of talent, that I don't know. It said she's quite beautiful. You know your brother, don't you? If the looks weren't good enough, would he even consider her? Guan responded. Talking about Anhao brought more smiles to Anzin's face. She began recounting Anhao's childhood embarrassing moments, and Guan listened intently without showing any impatience. Guan also felt happy that Anhao could get married. Despite not having married himself, just thinking about the disciple he raised getting married uplifted Guan's mood. After finishing picking the medicinal herbs, the two headed towards the pavilion complex. Guan had an XN bring the herbs to the storage building, while he went upstairs alone to relax and read. By dusk, Guan left the third medicine valley and continued with his roaming plan. Months passed swiftly and Guan's 90th birthday arrived. During this period he had slain over 12,300 demon beasts, gaining nearly 400,000 years of lifespan, bringing his total lifespan to over 8 million years. All the cultivators in the world were slaying demons and rescuing suffering people. Therefore, Guan had not yet made a name for himself, but the tens of thousands he had saved remembered him. Sooner or later, his deeds would be widely known. 8 dynasties were still at war, pushing for unification, while the immortal cultivation world was resisting demons. Yet no matter how many demons were killed, the number of demons in the lands of the 8 dynasties kept increasing. The demon calamity was different from what many imagined. It wasn't about countless demons attacking all at once but a continuous infiltration. Perhaps when the demon ancestor resurrected, the situation would be entirely different. A sweltering summer day. Disguised, Guan walked along a mountain path. Along the way there were many refugees with sallow faces, dirty and disheveled, staggering along like walking skeletons. Even as they brushed past Guan, they didn't turn their heads as if nothing mattered to them. Such situations were not new to Guan. These refugees' homes were likely destroyed by demons, forcing them to head to other cities. However, demons weren't the only troubles in these times. There were also evil people preying on the vulnerable, looting was common. Guan had even killed several evil men who were assaulting women. Guan also did not look at the refugees. He was pondering a question. If he didn't have the ability to steal lifespans, how would he survive in this world? From the Holy Land nurturing demons to harm the living to the common folks suffering from demons and evil men. Even though Guan wanted to cultivate in peace, if he could do something within his power without endangering himself, he would still like to help. As he walked and pondered, he suddenly sensed an aura coming from the south. He ceased his thoughts and extended his divine sense. The divine sense of the ninth layer of the Nirvana realm swept over mountains and rivers, lakes and seas, arriving at the vast blue ocean. He saw a brilliant white light appear at the horizon. Carefully observing, it was a series of white lotuses forming a staircase in the air, continuously extending forward, while the lotuses at the back disappeared. A Taoist was stepping on the white lotus steps as if an immortal walking in the mortal world. Mahayana cultivator. Finally, a Mahayana cultivator returned. Guan felt relieved. If he had to face the demon calamity alone, he would indeed consider fleeing with others. Relying on a lone individual's strength to avert the calamity of extinction would certainly attract the attention of all factions in the seven-star spirit realm and those hidden forces. They would investigate him madly. Even if he hid deeply, he couldn't guarantee they wouldn't find him. This didn't align with his cultivation philosophy. He needed others to share the burden so he could act with less pressure. Subsequently, Guan quickened his pace and continued his demon-slaying plan. He didn't kill every demon he encountered. He only targeted those attacking villages and people. If he could earn hundreds of thousands of years of lifespan each year, it wouldn't take more than 3 years for him to break through to the next realm. Guan had high expectations for the second realm of the immortal path. The return of the Taoist lord of Tsangtian sect. This news was like a bombshell, shaking the entire world of immortal cultivation. The news reached the supreme sect, and the disciples were thrilled. Legends about the Taoist lord started spreading wildly in various cities. When Guan went to the book collection hall at the outer sect to return books, he heard many disciples discussing the Taoist lord. Although information about the Taoist lord was scarce, one thing was clear: the Tsangtian sect regarded him as a Mahayana cultivator. After years of calamities, Mahayana realm was no longer a secret in the world of immortal cultivation. It symbolized the pinnacle that mortal spirits could reach, representing the highest realm in immortal cultivation. With the return of the Taoist lord, various sects were actively contacting their long-out supreme elders, hoping for the emergence of a Mahayana cultivator. It's worth mentioning that this month, the Wuxian dynasty surrendered to the Taizong dynasty, which expanded its territory yet again, and Tianwei annexed the great Zhao dynasty. Thus, the land of the once 9 dynasties turned into 6 dynasties. In terms of vastness, the Taizong dynasty was the largest. Even in the world of immortal cultivation, the name Li Shendao was often mentioned. After leaving the book collection hall, Guan walked on the streets, listening to the surrounding disciples' discussions about the various events in the immortal cultivation world. He enjoyed it greatly. The immortal cultivation world was consolidating its strength, so he couldn't afford to fall behind. He aimed to break through to the second realm of the immortal path quietly before the world was unified. An hour later, Guan left the outer gate city and headed towards the North Sea mountain to the medicine garden of sage Shen Miao to pick herbs. By midnight, Guan moved again. This time he came to a valley just under 200 miles from the nearest town. The valley was filled with dense demon energy, and there were dozens of captives and over 200 demons, the strongest of whom had reached the nascent soul realm. That demon was severely injured and had ordered his subordinates to capture people. Guan stood on a cliff, overlooking the flickering firelight in the valley, suddenly capturing an aura, his eyes narrowing beneath the mask. He didn't hesitate and jumped down. Facing the demons in the mortal world, Guan never used spells or divine skills. He relied solely on swordsmanship to slay demons. After half an hour, in the valley, dozens of raggedly dressed commoners knelt on the grass, kowtowing to Guan. On the cliff face before Guan hung a huge cat demon, covered in blood, its demon body embedded in the cliff, with stones continually falling off. Besides that, surrounding Guan were the bodies of demons, a chilling sight. Guan said, "Hurry and leave." Upon hearing this, the commoners quickly got up and ran towards the valley entrance. Guan's gaze then fell on a shape-shifting demon beneath the cat demon's corpse, writhing on the ground. A woman suddenly turned around and said, "Benefactor, that demon was good to us, even trying to save us. Please don't kill him." As she spoke, the other commoners who were running away also stopped. Seeing the demon, they all spoke up, pleading for mercy. Guan waved his hand and the commoners had to leave. The woman bit her lip and eventually left as well. Soon the valley fell silent. The shape-shifting demon beneath the cat demon staggered to his feet, looking more like a human than a demon. "Kill me if you want." Zhang Buku looked at the mysterious sword cultivator ahead, gritting his teeth, his eyes showing no fear. Within the Taizong dynasty, wherever the disciples of the supreme sect went, they were always honored. Guan replied, "In an era of chaos caused by demons, although I have the heart to save the suffering, I also fear trouble. That's why I wear a mask, not wanting to be recognized." Zhang Buku suddenly understood. He remembered his father's evaluation of martial Uncle Gu. Cowardly, cautious, yet possessing a warm heart. "Be sure not to tell anyone about what I did," Guan added. Zhang Buku chuckled, "Don't worry, I'm very tight-lipped. Besides, martial Uncle Gu just saved my life. How could I ever harm you?" Guan patted his head and asked, "Why were you mingling with those demons?" Upon hearing this, Zhang Buku's smile instantly froze and he lowered his head. The night wind was hot, and Guan looked at Zhang Buku's back, sighing in his heart. There was no need to ask, Guan could guess his predicament. The union of human and demon, born in a human environment, but as he grew up, his demon energy increased. Humans would not tolerate him, and his views had been shaped by Zhang Chuanqiu. How could he integrate into the demon clan? Guan had previously heard those demons mocking him for his impure blood, which showed that the demon clan did not accept him either. "I recently acquired a cultivation technique, said to be from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. As I am from a righteous path sect, I cannot cultivate it, so I might as well pass it on to you," Guan suddenly said, then took out a secret book from his storage bag. It was titled Demon Shadow Divine Skill. In reality, it was the cultivation technique for the 9 extremes yin-yang body. Upon hearing this, Zhang Buku could not help but raise his head to look. Staring at Guan's outstretched hand, he felt a bit dazed. At 66 years old, only this martial Uncle Gu had cared for him without expecting anything in return. He stood up, hesitating. Guan directly stuffed the secret book into his arms, saying, "Take it and remember, do not tell anyone that I gave it to you." Zhang Buku took a deep breath. He raised his eyes to look at Guan and asked, "Martial Uncle Gu, do you think I am human or demon? Why can't either humans or demons accept me?" Guan asked in surprise, "Who said neither can accept you?" "I accept you. Does it matter whether you are human or demon? Buku, the suffering you are enduring now may be due to a troubled world. Think of those people trapped in the valleys. How many can control their own fate? You can cultivate, which already surpasses 90% of living beings." Zhang Buku fell into a trance, thinking about those who were suffering. "What matters is not the identity you were born with, but the existence you want to become in this life," Guan said earnestly. Zhang Buku took a deep breath and said, "Thank you, martial Uncle Gu, for your guidance." Guan feared that Zhang Buku might seek death, so he continued, "When your father was young, he always said how wonderful it would be if his spirit root qualification weren't poor. He also wanted to explore the world, to travel across Great Jiang north and south, to reach the highest point and ask the heavens if there really were immortals. What you possess now is something your father could not touch in his entire life. Cultivate well, and immortal cultivation will guide you to find the meaning of life." Zhang Buku's maximum lifespan was 2,300 years. Even with half-demon blood, it proved that his qualification was not poor. After saying this, Guan patted Zhang Buku's shoulder and then left behind a storage bag before leaving. Zhang Buku hurriedly asked, "Martial Uncle Gu, where are you going?" "To save those who, like you, are suffering." Guan waved his hand without looking back. Zhang Buku watched his back, his eyes full of admiration. He understood the background of martial Uncle Gu, who had no parents, born as a house servant, while he at least had his father accompany him to adulthood. Martial Uncle Gu was so carefree, so why should he lament and blame himself? When he noticed the storage bag on the ground, Zhang Buku couldn't help but pick it up. Just as he was about to call out to martial Uncle Gu, he could no longer see his figure. He probed the storage bag with his divine sense, and immediately a complicated expression appeared on his face. Inside were all the demon treasures left behind by the earlier demons. He held the storage bag tightly, lowered his head, and tears streamed down his cheeks. As he cried, his mouth began to smile. "I will cultivate well, martial Uncle Gu. One day I will repay you and make you proud." A year passed by quickly. During this year, great cultivators gradually returned from overseas, and each great cultivator's life deeds were promoted by his sect, spreading throughout the world, inspiring all cultivators with boundless enthusiasm. The great calamity of demons was terrifying, but just like Pananus' book Shattering Void, the human race with their perseverance would surely endure all calamities. Over the past year, Guan had led a fulfilling life. In the time not spent picking medicinal herbs, he went down the mountain to save the suffering. If he encountered bullied demons, he would also help them. Gradually, a legend arose among the people about a swordsman, who is now called the Green Hero. Later, somehow, this legend evolved into simply calling him Green Hero. In the Mystic Valley, in front of the pavilion, Guan was sparring in swordsmanship with Chu Jingfeng. Yilan watched from the side. Eventually, Guan barely defeated Chu Jingfeng. He wiped the sweat from his forehead, lamenting, "Without using spiritual power, it is truly difficult to win against Brother Chu relying solely on swordsmanship." Chu Jingfeng panted heavily and smiled, "Your swordsmanship is excellent. I don't mind losing." Though he lost, he wasn't discouraged because Guan's victory wasn't easy. Afterward, he took his leave, not wanting to disturb Guan and Yilan. Guan took Yilan upstairs. Once inside, Guan went to wash his face first. Yilan closed the door, walked to the desk and began to speak. "Recently, more and more demons are appearing at the borders of the 5 dynasties. There's even a great demon in the Mystic Heart realm. It seems that the death of the 6-headed sea dragon did not deter the demon land. Over the year, the Qintang dynasty had merged into the Great Jiang dynasty, and the world was short of another dynasty. I have received information that there are 72 great demon kings in the demon land, and the 6-headed sea dragon was just one of them. When the true great calamity of demons arrives, I don't know how the human race will resist. I think relying solely on the 9 great cultivators in the world is far from enough," Yilan said, full of worry. The title of 9 great cultivators was a name proclaimed by the Supreme Sect, including the Taoist Lord of Tsangtian Sect, the Taoist of Immortality of 3 Pure Ones Mountain, and the Sword Venerable Fudao of the Supreme Sect. With the title 9 Great Cultivators spreading, the immortal cultivation world's morale was greatly boosted, and the Supreme Sect was frequently mentioned as a result. LV Badian had thoroughly studied the techniques Guan had taught him. Guan turned and smiled. "The strength of the immortal cultivation world is at least continuously improving, which is a good thing. As long as there is hope, it is fine." Yilan added, "It is said that above the 72 great demon kings, there are even more terrifying existences. It is unknown what the demons in the demon land are planning. Don't think about those things. You and I cannot change the grand trend of the world. All we can do is go with the flow and survive." Guan comforted her. Yilan nodded, saying, "If the great Jiang does fall, brother, let's go south and head to the sea. I've been making preparations. Although the ocean is dangerous, at least it's a way out. If we can find a small island to live on in the future, even if it's only for 10 or 20 years, it wouldn't be a wasted life." Guan smiled and asked, "What kind of life would that be? Just the 2 of us? Wouldn't that be boring?" "How could it be boring? We would work at sunrise and rest at sunset. I have many ways to amuse you." Yilan raised her eyebrows at Guan as she spoke, her gaze truly making Guan's imagination run wild. Guan gave a mock cough and said, "If it really comes to that, then it can only be so." After hearing this, Yilan became excited and started talking about the resources she had been preparing. Watching her smile, Guan thought to himself, "You can rest assured, sister, I will not let you wander aimlessly." Guan's lifespan had already exceeded 9,300,000 years, getting closer to the 10 million mark. This year, if he made an effort, there's a chance he could accumulate a lifespan of 10 million years by the end of the year. For his sister, he had to test the edge of the great calamity of demons. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.